Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet-David? Valuetainment, giving value's contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Let's see this here to see if I'm getting the audio right or wrong. Chris just taught me how to use this Apple new iPad. I'm used to using the old one. But today, guys, I have not done a bodybuilding interview for probably, I can't even tell you, I haven't done one for probably 4 or 5 years. And there's a reason for it. This is a space I was very interested in. When I was younger, I got out of high school. I wanted to be Mr. Olympia. I went and did the whole thing. And I went to Mr. Olympia. I hung out with these guys to see what the life was going to be like. And then, you know, hey, if you want to win Mr. Olympia, what's the right height? What do you got to be? This got to be this. Do I do this? Do I do that? And finally, one day, I'm like, Mr. Olympia is not for me. I'm leaving. But maybe later on, I'll do something. I wanted to buy Mr. Olympia. So I had a meeting with them 3 months before they announced Jake Wood bought Mr. Olympia. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make an offer. And said, no, we're never going to be selling. We don't have this. We don't have that. Then Jake Wood buys. I said, I'm done with Mr. Olympia. I walked away. However, I did a bunch of interviews with a bunch of the guys. And you're the first one I'm doing since then because you're a very interesting profile of a bodybuilder, which doesn't make sense. And let me explain to you why, okay? Here we go with this. Number one, this guy is, Rob, can you play this clip for some of you that maybe he's got himself covered? So he's not showing his arms, he's not showing his body. I just want you to see this clip. I can't play the music because YouTube's not going to be happy with us. You know which clip I'm talking about, Rob? That one right there. Just watch this clip here. This is him at 2 years old. We can't play the music, so this is you. I'm sure you've seen this.
Very cute.
Sick hat.
So that's he's got style. Very
flexible.
fashionable.
Very flexible.
Oh, yeah. Look at this guy here. Good-looking young stud, 10 years old. Boom. Holy shit, he's got muscles and swagger.
Damn.
18 years old. Is that 5 plates?
Ponytail too. Jeez.
Yeah, you're rocking the bun, dude.
And then you come to 19. Okay, I can do something with this body. And then 20. Then all of a sudden, you go to 21, shoulders popping out. You're seeing a difference now. Waist staying small. Look at that waist. Very hard to keep it the way it is small.
Still haven't eaten one carb.
Yeah. 24, 25. It'll come up and all of a sudden show you where this is when you start winning. 25, the beard shows up.
There it is.
26, and then boom. 5-time Mr. Olympia, classic champion. And it's interesting because you're the most followed guy in bodybuilding outside of Arnold, I believe. And Arnold obviously has had a run rate for many years. And, you know, he's a governor, actor. He's the GOAT in the bodybuilding space for doing a full life, everything that he's done together. But you got 22 million followers on Instagram, 5 million, nearly 5 million on TikTok, nearly 4 million subs on YouTube. And anybody I talk to from the bodybuilding space, you're loved and you're liked. A lot of people are maybe loved, admired, but not liked. Some are liked, but they're not loved and admired. Mm-hmm. Very few are loved and admired, and they stay humble, and they're chill. And you and I were talking. I was inviting you to a party like, hey, man, I'd love to come, but I got to go somewhere because I'm handling something. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You're just very straight up about it. And we talked about it. I'm like, look at this guy. Freaking amazing guy. I said, let's have him on. And then here we are talking to the 5-time Mr. Olympia champion. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here. A hell of an intro there. I've never seen that video. So
You've never seen that video?
No, I haven't seen that one, no.
Yeah, so that's a video of you, man. What you've done and where you are today. And a lot of young guys look up to you with the way you handle yourself, how humble you are, and you're a champion, and you openly talk about the challenges, and you're expecting a child, which is exciting. I saw the video. You left everybody hanging, you know, twice with the clip.
Yeah.
You're about to tell us, and then boom, and then second time you tell us, and then boom. So I also like the way you're creating your content. So let's go from the beginning. I got a few stories I want to go through here with you. I want to talk about a couple things with health, obesity, some stats we got here for you. Some of it's taking place within kids. We'll talk about some other things having to do with bodybuilders. I'll show you some pictures of some guys who have won in the past before. I want to get your thoughts on how you look at different bodybuilders, on their physiques, different champions that's been in the game for a while. And then some of the stuff we'll talk about, the current state of bodybuilding, the current state of Mr. Olympia, and then I'm sure we'll talk about a bunch of other things. But Before we get started, for the audience that doesn't know your background, how did you get into bodybuilding? Was it a natural transition into it where you want to be Mr. Olympia, or was it something like purely accidental?
It was definitely a little accidental. When I was younger, I loved playing sports. I played way too many sports to be good at any one sport. That was kind of my problem. I was very athletic. And instead of falling into putting in my training into being a better football player, basketball player, and the skill, I fell in love with training and alone and being in the gym and wanting to be stronger because I was just naturally very athletic. So I spent all my time in the gym rather than practicing the skill of sports. And slowly, people started to get really good. I started to get beat out in all the sports, and I just started spending all my time in the gym. And then when I was 17 years old, my sister started dating a local bodybuilder, and they're actually now married. He's my brother-in-law.
Oh, wow.
And he got me into understanding the true depths of bodybuilding, what it really took, the training, the nutrition, recovery, everything. And he saw some potential in me. He was like, hey, I'd love to coach you for a bodybuilding show if you want. And I was like, hell yeah, let's try it out.
How old are you at this time?
That was when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
I didn't compete until 2 years later.
Got it.
So I was still just training up, and then he coached me when I was 19 to do my first show. And the cool thing is he actually coached me for 8 years after that, and we won 3 Mr. Olympia titles together. Wow. So from getting me into the gym, teaching me the ropes, to 3 Olympia titles.
So he got you. So you guys at 3 together. So then is that when Hani showed up?
That's when I switched over to Hani.
Got it. And how did that transition happen with Hani?
Super natural. Ian, my brother-in-law Ian, he was competing in the Olympia as well. So imagine competing for the Olympia, having to prep yourself, be peak week, dieting, get yourself right.
Is he in the documentary that you created, the video as well, where he's also jacked and he's like, I'm excited because I'm actually going to be on the stage. Okay, so that's your brother-in-law.
The blonde guy.
Got it.
Yeah,
the blonde guy. Yes. Yes.
So it's pretty difficult to manage what you're doing while also having the pressure of a 3-time Olympia champion and making sure I come in perfectly. So it was taking away from his ability to compete, and he felt like he wasn't able to give me his all as a coach. So we started talking about bringing in someone new.
So he came up and he says, I've taken you this far. You need somebody else to take you to the next level. Was it that kind of a conversation?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We were definitely on the same page, but he was all for it. He just wanted what was best for me.
For him to do. That's not easy to do when somebody says. So what was the difference? Because Hani, for people that don't know, if you can pull up Hani, how do you spell his last name, by the way? It's R-O...
R-A-M-B-O-D.
He's Persian. I should know how to spell his last name. We talk all the time. This guy is by the way, the amount of people he's worked with that he's helped. Phil has worked with him. Phil speaks very highly of him. You got Chopin. You got just recently Mr. Olympia champion as well. A lot of people have worked with him. What is the biggest difference of working with Hani versus your brother-in-law? What did you notice immediately?
I would probably say the experience of working with champions. There's a level where you understand the basics, and all things in life are like this. You understand the basics, the fundamentals of everything. You can keep getting better at those. And then there's something that only experience really gives you at the top level. A lot of the combination of the mindset, how different everybody's body is, how differently you respond to different stressors and different simulations and all that stuff. So when there was a problem that would occur, maybe in peak week, you're about to get on stage. Like, for example, this year I woke up and I was holding on to a bunch of water, didn't really look how I should have. I'd put on a bunch of weight overnight randomly. And you might panic, like, we've got to be on stage in 3 hours. What do we do? You don't know what to do. There's different manipulations you can do with your body, but only so much you can do in a matter of hours. But he's been doing this with champions at a high level for 20 years. He has 24 Olympia titles under his belt that he's coached.
That's unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So he just understands how to problem solve and doesn't overthink it, doesn't stress it, and he can just pull it from his experience.
Is he driving you by creating urgency, or is he more bringing you down and keeping you calm and we got this under control? Or is it a combination of challenging you? Hey, if you really want this, you got to do this. You got to push a little bit more in this area. This is an area. Does he talk to you like an artist looking at your body saying, look at this angle here, look at this here. If we work on this, what is that approach he has with you? Is it more you feel calmer when he's around, or does he challenge you to go above and beyond?
It's definitely a bit of both. And anyone who knows Hani knows he's a crazy stress case sometimes. And he's kind of like the guy who will carry all the stress so you don't have to. But he's also the guy who will never look at anything and be satisfied. For him to give you a compliment, I maybe got 2 over 2 years of working together. Okay. You're like, the second he looks at you and he'll give a little smile and a nod, and you're like, oh shit, that's a good thing.
That's a
normally you won't even get that little spark in his eye. It's just like, all right, you could look the best, feel the best you've ever done, and he's just like, all right, we got to push more cardio, cut your carbs. We got to start doing this now. It's just, what do we do to be better? He's always on that. So
you're a 5-time champion, and for some people that don't know, you were born in '95.
Yep.
You're February 2nd, '95. You're 28 years old, right? It's not like you're 38 years old or 39 years old. You're 28 years old, which means you can go as long as you want to go. I remember when I was in YMCA, and we're all starting to work out. There's a 16-year-old kid. His name is Arthur. He had a brother named Merouche. They may see this, and somebody may send it to him. Arthur had an insane, and when I mean insane physique, okay? And you could tell this guy's genes are just better than the rest of us. He was 5'10", the right height that if you wanted to make a run at it. And then from there, you're kind of like, but just his passion wasn't there. It's just kind of like, yeah, I don't really care to be a Mr. Olympia or compete or any of this stuff. What did you have to do? Because to be a 5-time champion in 28, you're a good-looking guy. You got a great physique. You're going to be attracted by a lot of girls that want to be around you. You can be invited to all the parties. The drugs are going to be there for you. Everything you want to go to the places that are going to be distractions. That crowd is going to be attracted to a guy like you, right? How did you at a young age manage to prevent those temptations of getting caught up in drugs and all that other stuff to become a 5-time champion?
I mean, I definitely had a phase when I was younger where I was a bit of a party animal. And that's where, when you really look at some of my progressions through the year, you can see one year that just flipped when I started to compete at the Olympia. And that was when I really checked out of I was in college.
How old were you at the time?
It was around 2017.
So 2017, 6 years, you're 22.
Yeah.
Was it a flip like you're done? Was it like a gradual, guys, I can't come this Saturday, not used to go 5 days a week, now you're only going 2 days a week and then 1 day a week?
It was a gradual at first because I had qualified to go to the Olympia for my first time in 2017, and I started to pull away. When I was in prep, obviously, I'm in bed at like 8 to 9 p.m. while my college roommates are partying downstairs, and I'm trying to sleep, get up early for cardio. And then that was only a 12-week prep. And then I had come second that year, and that my first ever Olympia came second place. And that's when I came home, and I was like, fuck, like I could make something of this. Like this is, like I can do this. If I'm doing like 60% of the year I'm going all in, the other half I'm kind of partying too much. If I go 100% in and I give everything right now and I take out everything else, I know I can do this shit.
Because the one thing about bodybuilders, man, look, if you want to find out who has the drugs, who has the hookups to the club, who has the hookups to girls, to anything, go talk to guys that work at a gym. No joke. Guys at sales managers, okay, at Bally's, at 24 Hour, at LA Fitness, at any of these gyms, Powerhouse, in LA, any of these places, they typically know every club promoter, every party guy, they know it all. So if you party with bodybuilders, my experience, they were crazy.
I was going to say, this is from your own experience?
Yeah, they were crazy party guys. I worked at Bally's for almost a year, so to me it's like, shit, we know everybody. And you got access to, you had the ecstasy guy, you had the cocaine guy, you had this guy, you had the steroids guy, you had the weed guy with the best quality. You had everything you wanted, you had access within the gym. So it's kind of hard to, get away from it. And even when you sometimes talk to, some of the guys who are known for having the best physiques, the story is always, well, that guy partied above and beyond, and he had a great physique, and he could have been a bigger champion. It's not easy to say no to it, though. Because it's right in front of you.
Yeah, Chris, so your sister Melissa, IFBB pro,
yep,
right? So, and obviously you are who you are. Is anybody else in your family, like your mom and dad, like was your dad jacked? Was did you have an uncle? Is it in the bloodline?
It definitely have some good genetics. I can't deny that.
Yeah, for sure.
My dad didn't compete or anything, but there's one picture I always go back to where he was in high school, and he was a gymnast, and he's at the bottom of one of those pyramids they would build, and he's just down there, hands on the ground, just triceps popping out of his arm.
Really? Just
and I was like, Dad, you were jacked in high school, eh? And he just laughed.
So Melissa's husband is the guy that trained you before Hani.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet, through her, or did?
I was still in high school. She's 5 years older than me.
Got you.
So he was like 22 at the time. I was in high school. They started dating, and they've been together for like 12 years now or whatever. And he just started. He was competing at the time and started teaching me the ropes and coached me a few years later.
That's sick, bro.
But Rob, can you zoom out a little bit so we can see the comparison between the brother? If you can just click on that.
Anyone who knows me and my sister, or seen us train, seen us compete, my sister had the better genetics of the two of us.
Get out.
Oh yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
She has the better genetics than the two of you.
But like, Chris, I must have met, like, what is Thanksgiving like? Like, you're going over to get like some stuffing, and they're like, "Yeah, your tricep, dude." Like, I don't. Is everybody just judging everybody?
I mean, it's definitely funny because people meet me and they're like, "Oh, you're a big dude," blah blah. And I never felt like I was a big dude because every dinner I had at family dinner, I was the smallest second smallest guy or second biggest guy at the table.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law is always like 50 pounds heavier than me. So like, I never felt like I was that big.
Yeah.
I was never that strong. He was always stronger than me.
Just jack that.
Yeah. It kept me humble.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That's cool. That's cool. So let's talk bodybuilding. So Mr. Olympia today. I'm having this conversation, my ideas of what I would do if I was running Mr. Olympia. And I remember I did this one Instagram live. A bunch of guys were on. Phil Heath was on. Kai Green. All these guys get on. And I said, I want to put $1 million prize for my own contest I want to run. And if I'm not running Mr. Olympia, I'm going to put $1 million for first place. I'm going to run my own open, but I'm going to do it on the same weekend as Mr. Olympia. Here's what I'm going to do. Not like I was trying to piss anybody off, but I just chose the same. I thought it was appropriate to do the same weekend, and see what's going to happen. I was willing to go to $2 million, even a bigger number, but I wanted first place to get $1 million check when you win. However, the direction I wanted to go is using data to prove what was the hardest thing to do that would earn the respect of somebody winning. And to me, the hardest thing to do with data today is a small waist, a nice symmetrical back, nice shoulders, legs, bone. The movie, when you see these Hulk-like, not Hulk-like, more Reeves type of style physique or Frank Zane type of physique, it's also healthier. You can also manage expectations with the younger kids that look up and say, I want to be like that guy. Because it's different when you're looking Nasser Al-Sombati, you're like, shit, I want to be like that guy. Dude, that guy died very early because he was taking all the stuff that you look at Greg Kovacs. This guy's got 26. You ever seen a picture with Greg Kovacs standing next to Jay Cutler? Have you ever seen? Can you pull up this picture I sent you?
I thought it was a joke. I thought this was a joke.
Well, they probably did a little bit of Photoshop with this, but Greg Kovacs was known for incline pressing 7 plates.
Jeez.
Incline pressing 7 plates. His arms were known for being 26.5 inches. I met this guy 20-something years ago. You're looking at him, it doesn't look real.
That looks like they photoed, like his tricep is bigger than his
just
head.
Type in Greg Kovacs just type in Greg Kovacs anywhere else. Type in Greg Kovacs and just go to images, and you'll see what this look like. Just go over there, or maybe go some of the other pictures.
Oh yeah, his shoulder, his
It
delts
just doesn't make any sense when you would see his, body, his arms. Put biceps, Greg Kovacs biceps. If you just put that up there, Greg Kovacs biceps, and go to some of these pictures. 26.5-inch arms, 26-inch arms this guy's got. So the younger kids, they're coming up, they're like, dude, I want to have Greg Kovacs type of physique. My idea is to flip it. So if I ever own Mr. Olympia, the open right now, the top prize is what? $400,000.
400, yeah.
Right? Okay. And the winner this year seems like the nicest guy who won.
Great guy, yeah.
Yeah, great guy. Messaged him, congratulations. God bless. Very much about God. Family guy, good guy to be a champion. But I would flip it. I would make the prize for the classic, the bigger one, and I would lower the open one. Of course, it's going to piss a lot of people off, and that's why they're not going to want me to have it as the owner, because that's a different approach to take. But why would I do that? When you sit there and you're looking at the amount of people having health issues with bodybuilding, they're not managing expectations properly. Do you think the current format, the way they have, where for you, when you win, most people don't know when you win, it's only $50,000.
Yep.
What's $50,000? Nothing. Now, obviously, you don't rely on the $50,000. You make millions on top of millions on sponsorship. And I heard your first sponsorship was $2,200 a month when you first got it. You're like, I can't even believe I'm getting $2,200.
Richest I've ever felt.
Richest you've ever felt. You took your friends out to the bar. You're like, hey, drinks on me.
Yeah.
What do you think about the current format of Mr. Olympia? And when I listen to you, you sound very diplomatic, and I don't know if you've been trained on how to talk. You know how to give the diplomatic answers. You're very careful on the words you choose. I watch you, and maybe you're going to give the diplomatic answer right now. But if you were, if you and I were able to get in, and let's just say we're running Mr. Olympia, we own it, you're running it, okay?
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to make a few changes because you're thinking about the youth, you're thinking about the future, you're thinking about the brand, you've given your life to this, you've got 5 championships. What would you do to improve the brand?
It's funny because I told my wife before coming I like your style of everything because I know you call everybody out for giving political answers. I'm like, if I give a political answer, he's going to call me out and not let me give it. So start with that. No, and the way you're thinking about it and talking about data and the progression of it, I think the way they are looking at it, and I'm not going to be super political, is very short term. They're thinking people are excited to come buy tickets to watch open bodybuilders because it's crazier to see, but people don't want to become that. So it's a short-term goal. The older people want to come and they want to watch it. And to this year, they may sell more tickets. But if you start changing the prize money and incentivizing more people to go into classic physique, and that grows more, that's more of a long-term play where more people are going to be driven to start when they're young to chase that classic physique. More people are going to be following it over years and years. And 10 years down the road, people may look at bodybuilding as something fun, but they all want to watch classic. And now there's a lot more excitement around it, a lot more competitiveness because there's a lot more money to it. So it's kind of a longer term game. And I know the way you operate in business, of course, you wouldn't have gotten where you are if you weren't thinking long term. So I would agree. I would probably put more emphasis on classic physique. I would definitely be up in the prize money. And I've even thought whenever I'm done with this and I choose to retire, I want to find some way to incentivize that more. Obviously, like you said, I found a good way to start my own businesses and create my own net worth outside of competing. So I'm lucky in that aspect, but I want to help other people who don't have that opportunity, but who want to compete, be more. So I want to encourage more people, whether it be more sponsorship opportunities or business opportunities for whoever the classic physique winner is, plus more prize money, more shows around the globe that incentivize it more, just different aspects. Something I've definitely thought about.
Yeah, I love that, especially, coming from somebody like you, because when you look at this, you're wondering, this is what I would do if I surveyed everybody who bought a ticket this year. I would put a list of all the top competitors who are there, and I would do a survey from everybody that bought a ticket, and I would ask, who is the number one person you're coming to see if I'm running Mr. Olympia? Because that's the data I want.
Yep.
So then if I all of a sudden notice the guy that's got 22 million Instagram followers, 23% are coming to see you. Second place, 17% are coming to see Derek or Hadi or whoever else it is, right? 13% are coming. If I see those numbers, why is the 23% that's coming to see you getting paid 50 and the 17% getting the 400? Because that's a real valid question to be asking. That data is going to reveal who's selling the tickets. And I don't know if they do that data or not. By the way, Mr. Olympia, if you're watching, and if you guys are involved in a Mr. Olympia, you guys ought to ask this question. If you're working for Mr. Olympia, go up, you know who your bosses are, go up and say, can we run this numbers? And FYI, for the rest of you that are more from support of what direction he's going to, and you actually want this industry to get healthier, and you would like this thing to be on national television, not the way it's going right now, it's not going to be. If you want it to be on national television, which is when you get the big checks, the big money, the big dollars, and prices can get higher, that is a very valid question to ask, because when's the last time Mr. Olympia was televised? Long time ago.
No idea.
Why is that? It's because of the steroids and the issues and the challenges and the health. So everybody that wants to do, they're like, 8 people died this last year. This many bodybuilders died because they're using tren or whatever else they're using. And that negative connotation comes with it. But if you all of a sudden say, no, we want to highlight this kind of a physique, it can change the game.
Do you think it would change it, though, if... Because it's still well known that everybody uses steroids.
No question about it, yeah.
So does it matter how much they're using or the fact they're using it at all?
I don't care if you use steroids.
I know you don't, but the average person on national television?
But I also think, I think we used to care who smoke weed. Like, when you and I were, I keep saying when you and I, you're 28, I'm 45. I forget the age difference, 17 years. I talk to you like, you're a champion, career, you've had 20 years. You've not had a 20-year career. You only got like a 6-year career. It's crazy. Your career's only 6 years and you won 5 out of 6 times. No, but there was a time when I was in high school, you would see a guy with a tattoo. You're like, that guy must be a gangster or he's been in jail. No joke. I'm 45. At 13 years old, that's the first thing I thought about. Like, damn, that guy's got a tattoo. He probably killed somebody. It's probably yes or no, Rob? Are you like not kind of thinking about it that way?
He's
right?
giggling over there.
Right? You're kind of like,
that guy skipped school.
That guy skips. He's probably a troublemaker.
He's got a knife in his waist.
Today, if you see a guy without a tattoo, you actually ask, that guy's probably got some issues.
Beta.
He's got some insecurities. He's probably this.
Mama's
like today,
boy. Mama's
we
boy.
Flip it, right? We're like, this guy without the tattoo has the issue. Back in the days, the guy with the tattoo had the issue. 30 years ago, if you smoke weed, look at that guy, man. He smokes weed. He's a drug addict. He's doing this. He's doing that. Joe Rogan comes out and says, stop it. Knock it off. You guys, more people die from smoking cigarettes or more people die from alcohol than they do about this. Mm-hmm. Let's get it under control. I think the education for PEDs, steroids, peptides, GH, they need to look at that. And especially now that we're looking at the testosterone levels for the youth being as low as it is, what caused this? Why do we have this? Why are we not looking at this? Why are we looking at maybe boys are a little bit more soft and pansies? Is there a correlation to the testosterone levels that we have? Why are we not investigating this? Is the world a better place with softer men in a country like this, America? I don't know about that. So what are we doing to protect the future security of the country? You need some strong men with strong personalities and masculinity, high testosterone, that are willing to fight, that are willing to put their lives on the line. So who's selling it that way? I don't know. But for me, when I think about the sport, somebody needs to be able to educate the I was kind of excited when Rock was going to buy Mr. Olympia. You remember when that conversation was? I'm like, dude, I hope this guy buys it. Because if him and Danny bought it, guess what? Like, do you know what they would do to him? Like, think about if Rock and...
change, yeah.
What changes do you think would have taken place if Rock and Danny bought it?
I think a lot of stuff, like you were saying, it would be more long-term vision. They'd be running more data, switching over to make it more mainstream. They're all about making something more mainstream to get it on national television, to get real sponsorships, part of it, to get some real money. He was already talking about bringing in Ford and Voss in as sponsorships, which have a lot more money than any of the small businesses, not small, but medium-sized businesses that are in there now. So it would just start growing like that.
Yeah. And look, I don't have anything about Jake Wood. I've never spent time with the guy. I know he is a guy that actually loves bodybuilding itself. And he was a guy that apparently was very much interested in the female bodybuilding side. That's where he was very involved in, and he picked up the brand. But it's a difference between having somebody like a Weeder who loves the game and is a marketer versus somebody that just loves the game. If you bring a guy that loves the game and is a marketer, it's going to be a different story. So I don't know if you'll answer this, but if you don't totally get it, just guesstimation. And maybe because you're in the world and you hear some people say about this, do you think more people come to watch Mr. Olympia? When you're out there posing and the audience is there, what is the size difference of the audience of yours versus the Open? Is it dramatically different where the Open is packed and you guys are not, or is it about the same?
I can't judge that because we're on right after each other. So, like,
got it.
In the morning, there's 2 stages, and then at night we're on the same stage and it's the same crowd.
Got it. So there's not a way to judge that. So, okay, what ways could Mr. Olympia do due diligence to see why the fans are coming to watch the show? Is there ways to find out? Like maybe you would know.
I mean, what you said about taking data and doing a survey would definitely help. But I also think that right now, my following and a lot of the people who are transitioning over to really liking the more classic physique look and a more attainable look are a little bit younger, may have less money to travel to Vegas and buy a ticket. But if you start building that up in 5 years now, these guys are the people in the head positions at companies with real careers who can afford it. So again, it's a more long-term play to start building something that that next generation will want to come and purchase tickets for. So it's hard to say. Because if you did your survey right now, and let's say you said I'm 23%, and then the winner of Olympia is 10%, but what if the next guy is 9%, and that's also in the Open?
Yeah.
In the Open.
Oh,
and then the next guy's like another 9%, and he's also Open.
And then the combination is like 38%.
Maybe I'm 23, but the combination of the top 5 guys in the Open is a little bit higher right now.
But by the way, you know what I would do if they did that? Then at least that's going to prove that they're doing the right thing. But let's just say it's 2-1.
Yeah.
But the price is 8-1. That doesn't make any sense to me. If it is 2-1, well, then the Classic needs to go to $200,000 and the Open can stay at $400,000. $50,000? Dude, if I was your manager, they would hate me because I'd be calling them every single freaking week saying, dude, this guy's stepping away because he's going to go do something else. He's already making a shit ton of money. He's about to be a father, family guy. He's not going to waste his time with this.
Yep.
He wants to do something bigger and he's only 28. You guys better change the price or else. I would be the most hated guy when they would get these calls, but I'm not in that business. It would be
lucky them.
Yeah, no.
You just laugh.
They would be different kind of phone calls to get. So on this topic, I want to kind of go through some of the pictures here, bodybuilding pictures. Every time I've had to guess, I showed them. I think the first time I did it with Dorian Yates started, I don't know if you've seen that one when Yates is, looking at the pictures. And then I did it with, we had Flex and Ronnie and Brandon Kurt. We had a bunch of these guys. Sean Ray showed up even. I think we did Sean Ray, and we did Dexter. Dexter, to me, one of the sickest physiques, the way his pictures would come up. Rob, can you pull up some of these pictures here? I just want to get your thoughts on some of these pictures here. When you think about Mr. Olympia competitors, and we can start off with him. When you think about Sean Ray's physique, historically, everyone's always called his physique one of the greatest physiques of all time. He never won, but I think he's been in the top 3 more than anybody else. There's a statistic about how many times he was in the top 3 more than anyone else. What do you think when you think of Sean Ray's physique?
I think he had a beautiful classic physique for sure. I don't even think he'd make the weight limit for classic anymore, honestly, because he was a little bit shorter. But great lines, great physique. He had that small waist, and he had that like very symmetrical physique. You know, a lot of like my physique, I have to pose to make it look a little more symmetrical and give the illusion. He could stand straight on. The more straight on you can hit every pose, no angles or anything, shows you that you're not hiding anything, and it's just perfect. He has, you know, everything bubbling, rounding, pop.
How do you think he would do in today's classic? You think he would?
I don't know if he'd make weight.
You don't know if he'd make weight.
I think he'd be a little heavier, yeah. I mean, he looks a lot bigger than a lot of the guys you see right now in classic, so it's hard to say. I don't know what he weighed or how tall he was.
What would be the weight? What's the weight you have to hit?
It's a ratio of your height to weight. So I'm not sure exactly how tall he is, but for me at 6'1", it's 240 pounds.
He would make it. Can you pull up a Sean Ray competition height weight? I like that. The fact that there's a ratio of height to weight. I actually love that. That's very interesting. That they 5'6", contest he was 205.
5'6",
Wow.
205.
215.
I think 215 is definitely way over. But I think 5'6" would maybe he'd have to be 185 to 190, if I'm correct.
So if he's 5'6", he would need to be 185, 190 to compete.
I think, don't quote me on the...
Even if he gets to a weight like that, do you think how do you think he would do in a classic today?
He'd be right up there for sure.
He'd be right up there. Okay, so let's go to the next one after Sean. If you got whoever you want to go to next, who's this? Kevin Levrone, one of my favorite physiques of all time. When you look at Kevin Levrone, go to the picture to the left right there, second row. First picture right there. I mean, you see this. Just click on it. Just let's go to it and see. Look at this guy.
Ridiculous.
Oh, it's a video. Okay, go back to whatever it was on the... You have to go through. Yeah, there you go. When you see Kevin's physique, what do you think about with Kevin's physique?
Again, I mean, all these guys from this era were... So the guys who didn't win the Olympia in this era were just wrong time. You know, they were around a lot of great people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these guys, if you spread them over time, would have won Mr. Olympias in their own way. But they were all against some crazy competitors, and you know, he had a great physique. And it's hard to compare a lot of these pictures because back then there was a little bit of a different look. There were some, I mean, in this era they were still just as lean. Cameras were a little different. You know, sometimes you watch the old videos that are a little grainy, and it makes them look more grainy.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to compare now with the 4K cameras and everything. It's a lot different. But he was one of the guys who looked amazing, and this was, I think, peak open size.
Him right here.
Like this, when his era around now,
see what you're saying.
if
Yeah.
like open had stopped around that cap rather than keep pushing those limits. So
This was the peak of the bodybuilding open era for Mr. Olympia.
yeah, and it's difficult because someone like Ronnie Coleman came around and he could hold 300 pounds and still look aesthetic because he was he's a 1-of-1, you know.
Got it. Keep going. Go to the next one, Rob. Sergio Olivier. Are these some of the guys that maybe, you know, when you see a Sergio, his son is now competing as well.
Yep.
And he's got a great physique as well. What do you think about Sergio's physique?
I mean, also a great physique. I think this was back in the era when they were a little bit less dry and a little bit less lean, which I know a lot of people also liked. A little bit healthier as well, but everything progresses. Every sport you see continuously progresses. So it's hard to say that anyone would still appreciate looking at someone who's not quite as lean. But amazing physique. He had one of the smallest waist-to-arm ratios that anyone's ever had.
One of the smallest waist-to-arm ratios. Wow, he had. Yeah, I mean, but just look at his eyes. He looks like a king.
Yeah,
He looks like, listen, I belong up here. Go to the next one, whoever we have next. Hadi, we have, obviously there's better pictures of Hadi. He's another guy that's loved as well. You know, you talk to guys about Hadi, they have nothing but good things to say about him. What do you think about Hadi? I think Hadi's won it how many times now? 2 or 3 times? The Open?
I think he only won it once.
Did he?
He won it last year,
Let me see.
and then Derek beat him this year.
Oh, that's right. Because, yes, you're right. He only won it once.
Yeah.
He only won it once. Because he won it before as the most people's champion. Yeah.
No, I love Hadi, and what I love about him is he trains like an absolute animal, and this is why a lot of people love him. He's coached by Hani, and I went down to Texas at about 3 weeks out last year, and we were training together, and he doesn't speak English, he speaks Farsi, and he's also kind of deaf, so he just kind of like, he's very nonverbal communication, and he's like, makes fun of me, teasing, cracking jokes, and then it's like time to do a set, and he's just like serious. He puts 2 more plates on, and Hani's like, you don't need to do that heavy. He's like, just shakes his head, puts another plate on, and just goes, ball to the wall. Just an animal in the gym.
So has Hadi forced you to learn how to speak Farsi or not yet? Like your
Not
Farsi
yet,
isn't
no.
that good yet?
No.
Okay, I thought maybe
They taught me a few things when I was down there, but
Which
I
you
forgot
can't
most
say.
of it. Yeah, I can't say that on there. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's typically one that they say that has 2-letter K's in it, but they know what I'm talking about. Go to the next one. I'm not going to say this is
Serge,
okay.
that
What do you think about this physique? Like this is
Yeah, I mean, you're going to keep pulling up, I'm assuming, some of the greats of all time. And the reason we're looking at their pictures is because they were the best of all time.
yeah, Serge.
Nobret is just like
There was something about Serge's physique when you look at this.
from shoulders to chest to like that dude, his waist.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
When they have that waist that looks like it's like pinched, like paper thin.
But that's what you guys.
Ridiculous.
That's when I look at the physique of, I put you guys in the same community because that's the body, right? That's like the godlike body you want to recognize. Where, it looks. It almost the body you look at that you appreciate. It's almost something you're never gonna achieve. It has to be the word unbelievable, right? It's not like believable, and some of it has to be not duplicatable because bodybuilding is not about being duplicated. It's about having great genes.
Yeah.
Like somebody can do all the steroids in the world. Dude, you're never going to look like that.
Nope.
This is not something that you're going to have. The genes factor comes with it as well. Keep going, Rob.
Which is funny because they call classic physique sometimes more attainable. When realistically, it's kind of like the more genetic freaks out there who just have the look you can't work
They call
for,
classic more attainable.
Yeah. Because it's 300 pounds versus 220 pounds. It's just
The only thing I would say with classic physique to me is it's just going to get the right audience wanting to come in and see it more. And then you can have the other side for the biggest freak that if somebody wants to have that. But, even Flex, they call this one of the greatest pictures of bodybuilding ever taken. Maybe if not the greatest picture. This is, it just doesn't make any sense when you look at this picture with this guy. His body. He used to do training with Mike Matarazzo on ESPN. Have you had any interaction with Flex? Have you guys?
I have, yeah. He still comes around the shows a lot, and I've spoken to him. Yeah, he's a good guy, and definitely one of the physiques that I looked at, and I was like, this is it.
Who are your top 5 physiques? Like, who do you think about when you're like your top 5? Do you have a list?
I don't have a concrete list, but when I was younger, I really liked Barry DeMay.
Barry DeMay.
Yeah, he was just an all-American, like good-looking dude who had a classic physique-esque style. I would say in terms of like unattainable things, Flex Wheeler was one of my favorite for sure. He had the twisting back double bicep on his knees. That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yep.
But Barry DeMay was a guy that I really liked his physique of.
Who else? Anybody else that's a random name? Because that's a random name.
I like Bob Paris, the way he posed.
Yeah.
He was a little bit smaller guy, but really good look too. Very like aesthetic.
Yeah, Bob Paris's physique.
I took some inspiration from his posing routines and stuff too.
Were you a Gaspari guy or,
I wasn't a huge fan of his physique, but I definitely respected it.
Okay.
I liked it, yeah.
Who else? Who else would you put on that list? These are interesting names you're given. Paris, the mayor.
I mean, if you ask me the greatest of all time, I'd still say Ronnie Coleman.
You put Ronnie as the GOAT.
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
Not that that's where I would ever want to see the
that.
but
Look at it, dude. His vein on his arm is bigger than my leg.
and there was a point where before he was at the beginning of his career, of his reign, the first 1 to 2, where I think he looked his best before he put on an extra 20, 30 pounds or whatever.
When he placed 16th, right? Is that kind of what you're saying? Or when he won?
No, when he won still.
okay.
And the year before he won, just
Got it.
at the beginning of his reign.
So what year would that be?
That's a good question.
Put Ronnie Coleman
96
first
or so?
Mr. Olympia. Put Ronnie Coleman first Mr. Olympia. First Mr. Olympia. Go to the picture to the right of that. Is that the one? No, he was on the left. He's younger.
Yeah, look at that. He's young as hell. Look at his body, dude. His biceps look
this-
fake.
This guy, when he placed 16th, he was my favorite physique I would look at when I would buy Muscle Magazine and Flex.
Ridiculous.
But when he placed 16, you're like, this guy looks insane. His biceps would build on top of each other, and he had the layers. on top of each other.
There's something too that like I always see the bodybuilding community just loves and respects about someone who's no bullshit, just loves to train, no drama, no gossip, just like in the gym, kicking ass, leaves and does their own thing, stays in their own lane. There's always people who come into the world of bodybuilding and people just love those people because
A guy like him,
a guy like him, yeah.
Got it.
Just a happy-go-lucky dude who just trains hard as fuck in the gym.
Yeah.
People just love it.
And I remember when I interviewed him, I said, Ronnie, have you ever gone to a fight in your life? Never. I said, you ever had a fist fight? Never. You've never had a fist fight? Never.
I mean, if you look at the guy, you're not going to want to fight him.
And then I said, you ever punch somebody in the face? I've never punched anybody. I said, not even as a cop? Never. He says, well, I did punch. And then he started sharing a classic story. He says, yeah, as a cop, yeah, baby, but not. So click on that one right there, Rob, to the right, that shows all the years. Well, no, what you just had right there. Yeah, click on the bigger one. See if it does. Is it a video or? So let's see this one here. This is kind of transitioning from 98, 2000. Look at 01. Wow. Look at that 01 picture, Vinny.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah, so you put him at the top. Rob, do you have any of the pictures of Chris and Arnold right next to each other? This is the main one that everybody compares. Look at those physiques. Go to the next one, Rob. Look at that. Look at the stomach and the waist of Chris. That just keep going. Keep going.
And Chris, that's just that's 24 hours. You just, everything you eat, everything has to be methodical. You can't even slip up at all.
Yeah, I mean, every single year I've competed, it's gotten more and more locked in, and keep seeing results, you know?
It's no joke.
This year especially, because I have a lot more going on now with the businesses and travel and just life, I started to realize I was kind of overexpending myself on too many avenues. And, you know, if you want to be the top 1% in anything, you can't be the 1% in the next thing next to it. It's got to be one. So this year, at like 10 weeks out, I had been traveling too much. I was a little too stressed. My body wasn't feeling too hot. I was in Canada, and I wasn't sleeping. I was overthinking. I had too much stuff on my mind, and it was just my body was in a high state of stress. And I tore my lat. I lost a bunch of weight. All this shit was going on. And I came home, and I was like, you're Mr. Olympia. Like, you can't do this by being a business owner and doing travel and all this shit. You have to just be Mr. Olympia right now. And I shut everything else out. I told my partners, I'm like, you got to take over the business and everything because I got to do this. And everything was sleep at 9 o'clock at the same day, wake up, do cardio at the same time, eat, nap, train at the same time. Everything was just perfectly regimented for the entire prep.
Chris, so,
this is when you went from 262 to 250. You lost 12 pounds.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd say wild thing when it happens in that world because psychologically you're like, wait a minute, what is this all about?
Yeah.
It's a tough moment you're going through by yourself. And it's not like you're playing basketball or football that you have a teammate to rely on to come through that day because you're off. No, you are your teammate.
Yeah.
You are the guy that everybody's looking at. The pressure is a different pressure. Go ahead, Vin.
well, I just realized that we look like hitmen for the mafia because we're both wearing black.
That's how we make our money.
That's how we roll.
It's just we don't tell people about it.
So Chris, seeing what like a lot of these Mr. Olympias like health wise have to deal with after, like Ronnie Coleman's back. Like because I followed his whole career. I felt really bad because I saw him like in a wheelchair and his back was messed up. To Arnold and his heart and all and a bunch of other athletes. But does that scare you at all? All the strain that you're putting on your body now? I know because you spoke about this before on podcasts that you have an autoimmune disease with your kidneys, correct? And now that you have, that's one question. And then now, I mean, we just mentioned that you have a kid. Congratulations coming.
Thank you.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl yet?
I do, but my wife, I'm not allowed to say.
When I say, gonna say it, but and like, is it worth it, Chris? Because I don't know how many more you want to keep going for. You know, it's stressful. You know, it's tolling on your body. You know what the future, if you keep going, holds. Is it still worth it? Because I mean, right now you could comfortably stop with your businesses, with your name. You're crushing it, and good for you. Is it worth it that now you could leave comfortable, or are you going to just keep going because that's your dream, that's your vision, and that's what you want to do?
I mean, it's definitely a consistent question I ask myself every year, and I've been very verbal that I take it 1 year at a time. You know, there's going to be a moment where I don't want to. And when you were asking me initially, what was that initial like flip where I started to go all in on bodybuilding? And initially it was 2017 when I came second in Olympia, but then it was 2018 when I got sick and I found out I have an autoimmune disease, and I was in the hospital for like a week in the middle of prep, and I came out of that and I didn't know if I'd be able to compete again. I didn't know if it would be my last year competing. I didn't know what was going to happen. And that's when like I really was like, fuck, like my health could be an issue here. And luckily it was unrelated to bodybuilding. It's something that I had prior to me, what I was born with. It had hit me when I was young and I didn't know what it was. But coming out of that, I was like, fuck, like I could have lost it all right now. This is serious. Not only am I grateful that I still have the opportunity to do this and I'm on borrowed time, so I better give it my all, but I better be a lot more cautious of my health. So I started to do a lot more blood work, a lot more check-ins with my doctors, a lot more started reducing the amount of drugs I would take because I knew I could push my work harder rather than just drugs. Focus on what I ate, my inflammation, all these little things. And it's something I focused on. And it's also something where I knew I wouldn't have a 10, 15-year career. As much as I would love to keep going, because I know I could keep getting better and do this for 10 Olympias or so, it's not my dream. You know?
It's not your dream.
To have 10 or plus?
Yeah.
No. I've always told people it won't be forever. I still don't know how many it's going to be. Right now, I've been getting healthier over the years, not getting worse. So that's a huge sign for me that I'm still going in the right direction. My physique is still getting better. I know I still have more in me. So I still take time after the Olympia. I do my blood work. I do my check-in, and I just kind of check in with myself, see how motivated I am to keep pushing and how my health is doing. And then I make my decision, am I going to do another one?
Why do it? Why keep doing it though? Because the more you do it, are you getting more sponsorship money, and are you seeing money coming from elsewhere increasing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, is there a correlation between 5 Mr. Olympias and, you know, we made $16.2 million the last 12 months. And on the fourth one, we were at 12.3. And on the third one, we were at 6.7. And on the second one, we were at 2.1. And on the first one, we were at $380,000. Is there a correlation with you more winning and more income and revenue coming in, or not yet?
I think in the first 3 to 4, there definitely was, and whether or not that was also just time, you know, increasing at the same time. But now we actually just had this question asked to us the other day if we thought that me winning the Olympia has a big spike on the business, and our answer was no. You know, we've established the business to be bigger than myself now, which was always the goal, and I don't think it is anymore. And I obviously don't compete for the $50,000 check
That's
at
exactly
the end
what
of
I'm
the
saying.
year.
So
and the reason I've never really pushed into caring about that check is because it's never why I've done it. And even if it was $400,000. I don't want $400,000. You know, my goals monetarily are bigger than that. My businesses are always wanted to be bigger than that. I've never competed for that. You know, when I compete, it's for the legacy that I can build, that I'm proud of. It's for the challenges that I know. You know, when you push yourself through something very difficult, that's how you learn about your true self. You uncover new levels that you can reach, new parts of yourself you didn't know about. And then when I'm at shows and I have moments of, you know, after my speech that I can give talking about hardships I've gone through, when people can relate to me talking about the stressful moment, to me losing a bunch of weight, tearing my lat, wanting to quit, all these things and not quitting. I have kids from 12 years old up to 30s or 40s coming up to me, and these kids could write me a letter and they'll do something very personal, like, this is for Christopher, not CBum, because they know I don't like CBum's not me, I'm Christopher. You know, I've always stayed true to myself, and they'll be crying, tell me about how I've like helped them and how my journey and my stories motivate them. And that was never my intention, but just by going through this, I know I'm helping these people push themselves and try and create better versions of themselves as well. So while it's increasing me to be a better person, it's making people around me a better person, that's really what drives me consistently to keep doing this, and what I love so much about bodybuilding, and, you know, the journey and the suffering that you go through to excel yourself as a man so much more than a bodybuilder. That's really what drives me now. And like I said, I think I could probably win 10 Olympias if I wanted to, but I'm going to pull earlier than that because of these reasons. What's worth it? What's a bigger regret I'm going to have in the future? Having 10 Olympias or being sick? Yeah. Obviously, I'd rather have my health.
That's why I'm asking the question. Because but that's why I said you're loved and liked and admired. It's very hard to have all those three. Very, very, because you can act and have all those three. The only way you can have all those three is to be all those three, and you are all those three. So it's not hey, Christopher, what's the 17 steps to be loved, liked, and admired? You can't do it. It's genetics.
Yeah.
Part of it is your personality, your
parents.
DNA. That's it. There's a part of it that you're so. But let's go back to that. So Michael wanted to be the GOAT. So when he stepped away at 3, you know, and we've all heard the stories, you know, Last Dance, was it his father? Did David Stern say step away for a year and a half? Then he comes back. But he stepped away from the game and wanted to go do baseball because, you know, his original love was baseball. And then he comes back and wins 3 more. But Michael wanted to be the GOAT. Like, he wanted to be Magic at 5, I'm going to have 6. It was one of those things, right? Brady comes, which I was with Brady, a couple months ago. We had him at the event. And I said, you know, the 7 was 7 because you wanted one more than Belichick or one more than Michael, because Michael's got 6 championships and Belichick and him won 6 together. So did he want to win a 7th to say, I've done one more than 2? Now, obviously, publicly, you may not reveal the true internal motives and drives to anybody else. You're like, yeah, no, it wasn't the reason. But you know what? I just kind of wanted to test myself. That's like the right answer to give. And then there's the answer of, no, I wanted to give him the middle finger and tell him, I can win without Bill, and I can win one more than Michael. And people got to stop saying, that guy's the Jordan of the industry. No, they got to start saying, that guy's the Brady of the industry. Do you relate more to a Michael and a Brady when you're by yourself, or do you relate more to a Barry Sanders, a Calvin Johnson, some of these guys that left the game? I don't know if you know who Calvin Johnson is or who Barry Sanders is.
I know Barry, not Calvin.
Calvin Johnson, Megatron.
Number 81 for the Lions, right?
The guy was and by the way, one of the greatest physiques in the NFL ever. Both of these guys, just put NFL, yeah. Calvin Johnson was one of the greatest receivers ever, and they retired early, and they stepped away from the game. And whenever anybody would ask the question, say, Barry, why'd you leave so early? Yeah, I just left early.
Yeah.
If you would have kept, you would have been past Emmitt Smith. Everybody knew that. That's not what I'm doing the game for. So which of those two do you more relate to? The crazy guys like the Jordans and the Bradys, or the guys that are doing it because they like it, and at one point if they stepped away and they didn't beat anybody else, they're totally cool with it?
It's funny because when I started my career, and I mean, it's impossible not to watch Michael Jordan and just feel fire burning in your heart. Everybody, no matter who you are, you feel that.
Yeah.
He's like, that's why you say you're the Jordan of your industry. But when I was younger, he was a guy I looked up to. I read Relentless by Tim Grover, The Last Dance came
Great
out
book,
middle of my career. A lot of these things going on, and I was like, fuck, kill everyone, fuck the competition. I want to beat this guy, hold a grudge, all that stuff. I felt that, and I was like, hell yeah. And then I started to kind of think about that, and it didn't line up with me. I read it and it lightened me, but it didn't line up with who I was and what I wanted to be. I wasn't so much of, I want to sacrifice my whole life to do this. It was like, no, I actually realized that I still get more joy from the relationships with my parents and my wife. And I like being friends with people and being friendly. I'm more lighthearted than that. I'm not the aggressive guy who's going to kill you. I'm just going to show up and do my best, and I'll try and bring everybody else around me up too. And I really realized that through part of my career. And that was when I realized that my goals weren't external to be the best compared to someone else. It wasn't the best to be in 20 years from now when someone else is trying to win, be like, no, you can't beat me because I had 8 and you can only get 5. It was truly...
That does nothing for you.
No.
Okay.
I can't say nothing. Everyone likes that a little bit. I love the fact that I'm the champ right now and what comes with that. But what drives me more is truly being the best man I can be, and knowing that will lead to me being the best father I can be. And that was I've always been verbal about that. The number one thing I've always wanted to be in my life was a dad. And if being 10-time Mr. Olympia would take away from me being dad, fuck 10 times Mr. Olympia. That's not what I care about.
That's kind of what I figured. That's kind of what I figured with. So if that's the case, I'm going to play the role of a manager and agent here without being one.
All right.
And I don't benefit from you doing anything.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't make money off you. I don't get anything from you, but I like you a lot, right? Just from a fan perspective, just seeing a guy, I'm like, I just like this guy. You know how certain people you just want to see that guy get whatever they want, and you'd root for them? You give that vibe, okay? Right. And if that's the case, and you have your baby that's due here soon in 2024. You don't relate to Michael. You're a February 2nd baby. Michael's a February 17th. Both of you guys are February babies. I don't know if you know this or not. You guys are a couple weeks apart. So, all right. So, no, I don't. That's not me. I read Relentless, and part of me goes, I'm like, no, that's not really me. If I have to choose between winning 10 and Son, the hell with it. I would much rather choose this. So, if that's the case, and there's no correlation between you winning a 6th or 7th or an 8th or 9th or 10th or any of that stuff, wouldn't it make more sense for you today to step away from the game and shock the hell out of the entire industry at a young age and start a supplement company, which you already, of course, that's already taken place, but take that to a whole different level and encourage the youth, hey, yeah, you can have a good physique and all this other stuff, but there's more important things in life than winning 10 more. And forever, you're going to be the mythical figure that if this guy would have gone, he could have potentially won double digit. Because what's the difference between 5 and 6 or 7? Nothing. The only other number that matters, what's the other number that matters? It's 9.
Yeah.
So you want to go get 9? Like, yeah, I don't really give a shit if I go get 9.
Yeah.
And then the question then becomes, do I risk going another 4? And what if I want to have 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids? I don't know how many kids you want to have. You're young. You can have 10 kids if you want, right? So
More likely to have 10 kids and 10 Olympias.
Yeah.
you'd much rather have 10 kids than 10 Mr. Olympias.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, great. Yeah, dude, me too. I'd much rather have 20 kids. If I had it my way, I'd have, as many kids as possible. But does that ever cross your mind where you're like, if there's no difference between 5, 6, 7, 8, the only thing that matters is 9. And even some of the people they're going to say, well, you've never won an Open anyways. It's not like it's this. You've never won an Open. Yeah, if you came up and you won an Open, then you would shock the hell out of the industry if you went that route. Now you're really talking if you do that, because now you're a 5-timer and you're leveled up. So now you become a different story of, he's a middleweight champion, and he moved up to lightweight champion, and then he moved up to light heavyweight champion. You're kind of going through that part. Does that at all cross your mind?
It's crossed my mind for years, honestly. And
Stepping away, because it's either 9 or no other number really matters.
Yeah, and that's what it's been for myself for the last couple of years, and I know that. And this year, in the midst of my prep, when I was going through all that shit, for a moment, I have a therapist, and I remember talking to her, and she told me this after. I was like, I don't know if I can even get through this one. Wow. I felt so shitty. I was so down on myself. I was like, I literally don't even know if I can get through this one, if this is even worth it right now, because I was just in a low spot. And she was like, you know what? If you step away, your family, your wife, everyone close to you will love you the same. Nothing will change other than the amount of trophies you have on your shelf. And you've always said that's not what you care about. And I really understood that. And that relieved a lot of pressure from myself. And then I was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm still not going to give up on myself right now. It's not going to be in this low moment that I choose to quit. I'm going to push through this. And as I did, I was like, the relief of that pressure of knowing I don't need to win for anything right now, but I'm choosing to purely for myself.
Big mindset.
Huge difference.
Yep.
And the fact that I got through that and discovered that on my own, I was like, fuck yeah, I can keep going, and I'm going to kill this 5th Olympia, and no one's going to even talk about someone coming second to me. And that's what I did. And also what I learned this year was in my relationship has progressed so much in this. And I was talking to some Navy SEALs, actually, we had down DJ Shipley and Cole Flackler with that GBRS group. They were down and we were talking about learning how to turn a dial back and forth of when you're putting into 1% being bodybuilder, and they were talking about going into perform as they do and then coming back to their families, how hard that is. And I don't want to compare that to what they do, because that's top performance. But when me and my wife learned this year was she understood what I'm going through and how important this is to me. And she understands that I am going to pull back from our relationship for a little bit and being the best relational husband I can be in order to be the best Mr. Olympia I can be. But she knows damn well it's going to be worth it. I'm going to put everything in when I'm off and I'm away from her, I'm giving 110%. And when I'm done, I'm coming back to her. And I learned how to kind of turn that switch back into Mr. Olympia mode and back in a relational mode. And that's, I think, one of the most important things to learn. I imagine even you, when you go to business mode and you're like, all right, we got to do this, data, projection, this, that, and then you come home and you got to be dad, you got to play with your kids. That's a knob you have to learn how to switch so you're not bringing work home onto them. So this is something now that bodybuilding has taught me on how to turn that knob back and forth that will make me a much better father. And then if I can manage that and balance things going on in my life much better, and it's not taking away too much from everything I have going on right now, my kid will still be a baby next year. My wife still understands what I'm going through. She's also a Miss Olympia from the past, so she gets it,
She knows what's up.
So there's all these things that are going through my mind, and not only did I go through a hard part at the beginning of my prep, but end on such a high, but my relationship was strong throughout it, and I don't want to talk to any of these goats like MJ, Brady, any of these guys. A lot of them, I believe, sacrifice a lot of their family time and relationships to get there, So I don't want to do that. And I don't feel like I am right now. I don't feel like I'm pulling away from that for too long or too much, that it's actually hurting it long term and chipping away at it. And I work very hard on that side, rather than just being a bodybuilder, but also being the best relational man that I can be in other aspects of my life. And I know it's not hurting that right now. That's why I have these checks in place, where if I knew with my wife it was literally hurting our relationship, I would leave. I'd be done right now. If my health was decreasing, if I was doing my blood work and I was getting sicker every year, I'd be done right now. But I'm improving all these things. These things are all getting stronger. I'm happier than ever in my relationship. My business is getting better. My health is getting better. Everything's still progressing, and I'm still enjoying what I do, and I still have that fire to keep pushing myself. So I'm like, why would I stop right now?
Are you religious, Chris? You go to church or?
I'm not. No, I was raised in Canada, and I'm sure if I was somewhere else, I might have been. But
so, was Canada just overall just not a really big Christian.
Where I'm from, it's not very religious.
Ottawa?
Ottawa, yeah.
Ottawa.
Yeah, a lot of Canadians believe in the Church of Justin Trudeau. Is what they believe in.
Oh, really?
It's Canadian.
JT?
Yeah, it's
JT.
a Church of not Latter-day Saints. It's
No, the
Latter-day Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau,
But
yeah.
I don't know if he is part of that camp, but some of those guys are. But on this topic, just because I want to get my question answered, or maybe know where you're at. Do you feel like, so you're committed to doing your 6? You're going to go back for your 6 this year.
I don't make that decision and this is why I've said this every year, so people know I'm not bullshitting. I don't make that decision until I'm ready to start ramping up again.
Okay, got it.
I haven't been training for a few weeks now, and I'm just enjoying the 5th.
Are you interested? Is there like a next impossible thing for you to do? You know what I'm saying? Is there the next thing where you kind of need the next challenge? Do you think about that or no? It's just routine, because there's certain, like my dad is an April 10 baby, okay? And the significance of it is what you and I talked about off pre-podcast. He's born April 10th. And my dad can do the same thing every day for 40 years. He's excited. It's my dad, okay? It's not everybody.
Great skill to have.
Great skill to have. It's a scary skill to have because the enemy is intimidated. The fact that you're still that excited. My dad is that guy. He'll just keep doing it, won't get bored. He's good to go. Nobody can slow him down. He's 81 years old right now. In and out of hospital, he still goes. Can't stop him. Is there a next challenge where it's like, babe, what I'm thinking about what? What if we decide to shock the world this year? And what's that? What do you think about if we made a run to go do X, Y, Z? Does that thought at all cross your mind to want to run in the open? Or no, that's not even a thought you ever think about.
It's definitely crossed my mind, and I've joked about it, and people always ask me about it. But I mean, to go back to when I started, I almost retired when I turned pro because I didn't want to be an open bodybuilder. At 6'1", I'd have to be 300 pounds. You're tall.
Right.
You discovered that when you were trying to compete too.
Yeah. That's when I stepped away, by the way.
Yeah,
Crazy.
It's tough. So then when Classic Physique came out, I was like, here's my chance to keep going. Let's go all in on this. And when I talk about how my health has been progressing, it's because of all the little things I've taken away from and added and changed to focus on that outside of just being huge. And I think to go in the open, I would have to mitigate those things that I've put in for my health checks, and I'm not willing to risk that. So if I ever competed, it would be a similar look to these pictures how I look now, but maybe a little bit fuller, less lean, just so I was a little bit heavier. But I wouldn't want to push myself to that. And I also don't like the idea of competing to not be as competitive as possible. So it'd be hard for me to go in the open knowing I could be doing more to be more competitive and not doing it.
Yeah.
So that's challenging for me. So it's on my mind. Would it be fun? Absolutely. But it's not really in the cards right now.
I get, and I figured that's kind of where you would be at. Because when I sit there and I think about it from the standpoint of, what it would do to get a 6th, 7th, 8th, it's really the 9th that would matter. So which means you got to take it 1 year at a time, and you can't let the media and whoever these annoying people that ask the stupid questions, the tough questions. Now, I don't know any of these guys, but some people tend to ask these crazy questions that get you thinking. You're like, I don't want that pressure. I'm doing whatever I'm doing, talking to my family, my wife, my friends, my mentors, my peers, and that's the route I'm going to take. But I think I'm like, if a Chris gave the same thing he's giving right now to Mr. Olympia, Classic, Physique, what if he did that to his business at this time? How much can he scale that to? Because, you saw what Bill Phillips did with Muscle Media, sold it, got $100 million, couple $100 million. You saw what that was EAS back in the days and how that supplement took off. And you're seeing right now drink and all these things. Do you really need Mr. Olympia to get to 30 million followers? I mean, you'll post something on Instagram, you'll get 1 million likes in a heartbeat. It's not like you getting 1 million likes. It's not like, oh my God, it's got 1 million likes. To you, it's just like a regular Tuesday when you post something. Your audience is like fully behind you, right? And how do you monetize that? Because all that's going to do is that's just going to make your children wealthier generationally, make the Bumstead legacy bigger in the future, and there's timing in that. And there's a storytelling in that. That's the only reason I asked the question, to say, what is the next challenge? If the challenge isn't to go to the next level, which I would not at all recommend doing as a friend, I would say I wouldn't waste my time with that. Then what is the next challenge? I don't think 9 is the challenge. I think the challenge would be there's a massive opportunity to change the game today. And to be able to influence and change the game, you have to have loyalty and audience. You have to be liked where you can persuade. You have to be transparent, vulnerable. Check. And you have to do it when you're peaking, winning, and you leave people behind. You're kind of like, oh, Michael, why did you step away after the 6? You could have won a 7 or so. It's like that feeling. That's why I asked the question to see what the next big challenge is for a guy like you. And obviously, winning the Open is not on that list.
No. Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely more I can put into business. And right now I have the best partners ever. And the reason our businesses are doing so hot right now are because of my partners who can handle the back end of business when I need to step away for bodybuilding. There's definitely more we can tap into. But when I talk with my wife about like the next step and what really drives me right now, I reflect back on the things that light up my heart the most right now, the little things that come in. It's the inspiration. It's the help I give like the younger generation, the kids I hear, the stories I get, the letters I get, all this shit. There's nothing I like. It brings tears to my eyes now when I like read these things, and I'm like, there's something in that is my next challenge. I know like I'm not religious based off of pure religion, but I have spiritual beliefs. I believe in the higher power, and I have like beliefs in the world. And there's something in that realm that calls me, and I know that to give back. Bodybuilding is a very selfish thing. It starts very selfish. It's just I want to be big, and then it begins a bit more. I can bring up my family and my friends and my community, and then there's some aspect that calls me to be able to give back more because I've been given so much. I've been so blessed. Like when I tell you I thought I was gonna be done bodybuilding when I got sick, everything else has just been bonus, and I'm so grateful for it. And I just want to be able to give back some of those feelings that I've had to others. And the next challenge is going to be figuring out how and then executing on that.
Well, you're 28, bro. You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
You ain't 45. You ain't an old fart. You're 28. You got a lot of.
Are you saying I'm an old fart?
Well, you and I are 45, both of us.
My back hurts. This whole podcast, my back has been hurting. I just want you to. I'm gonna throw that out.
This guy's 28 with 5 champions.
I know. He's ridiculous.
You realize like how weird that is. Like Michael won his first. How old was Michael when he 31?
30. I was
31 years. I don't know how old he was. He 30 or 31. He won his first. This is 28. He's on his 5th, which is pretty wild. Go ahead.
So Chris. So Pat. I don't know if you know Pat's second book came out. Choose Your Enemies Wisely. I personally, when I heard him writing it, because since I've been here a year and a half, I've been hearing Choose Your Enemies, and I thought that's a bad thing. I'm like, why would you want enemies? But then I realized, you know what I mean? Especially like in our job, entertainment, enemy, people are going to think you're out searching for these people. But I realized that you need these people to help motivate you. I just literally just finished listening to his book. I can't read because I have ADD and everything. But do you have any enemies? Do you have anybody that drive you to keep going, that you have that like these people or these organizations in your mind that push you, that drive you?
Competitively in bodybuilding, or
in general, all around business, competing, personal, people that bullied you, like anything that makes you go, I'm taking this shit to prove to these people, to prove to that person, to push you.
Not in any huge aspects, no. I mean, it's always fun to have a rival and competitive aspects. And when I started and I was coming second 2 years in a row, it was Breon Ansley, the guy who beat me 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And we were the only true people I've ever competed against that really had that rivalry, where we were kind of like, smile and shake hands, but I knew he'd turn his back and he was like, fuck that guy. He took my fucking champion, fuck that guy. And I respected him for it. You should think that. You should think, fuck me, You shouldn't like me because I'm coming to steal your shit.
Yeah.
And then he retired last year, and it was the coolest moment ever, because it was literally like, you cut a cord between us. He was retired and he was done, and we were just like, I hugged him. Yeah. We were on stage actually, and he knew I won, and I gave him a hug, and I was like, thank you, man. Like, you really, you pushed me back when I was second, and thank you for this challenge and this rivalry, because when you compete, there's few things more fun than having a rival and kicking his ass, know? And he lit that up in me. But since then, honestly, no one really has that fire to come up and kill me. And I'm super nice to everyone backstage because I know I'm going to kick their ass, I'll shake their hand. Guys come back and they ask me for selfies.
So
back
dope.
They're getting on the stage with me and they're like, hey, can I get a picture with you before we go on there? I'm like, yeah, sure, man.
Come on, whoop your ass in 5 minutes.
And I know damn well they're not going to beat me.
Of course.
If you're going to beat me or not, ask me for a picture. You don't know, you're going to fucking glare at me across the room.
Of course.
You're not going to talk to me. That's the only way you're going to beat me. So none of these guys are there yet, which is fun, but I have no rivalries anymore right now. This guy who comes second, amazing bodybuilder. Brazil, Ramon, absolutely amazing, great guy. He doesn't speak English.
How big are his forearms, by the way?
Huge.
Stupid.
Is it as big as it looks?
If we stand beside each other in a t-shirt, you'd be like, that guy's winning. Pointing at Ramon.
This guy's
crazy.
forearms, that's the first thing that to me, I'm like, that just doesn't mean. How tall is this guy?
I think he's 5'11".
Okay, so he's tall. He's
a pretty
pretty
big
tall.
dude, yeah.
Yeah, but that picture doesn't do justice, though. You got to go a little closer when he's like not posing to see what those forearms. No, that doesn't do justice. Give me Chris. He know right there. Look at
that shows it. Yeah.
Oh my God! What?
His arms are huge.
His forearms are the same size as his biceps.
He's like 15, 20 pounds lighter than me, I think, on stage, but his arms are way bigger.
So, but I see you when you see him. I still see the way you look at him. I see how you look at him. You look at him like, you know, you're not beating me.
Yeah.
Like you almost look at him like,
nice to see you, but
no. But I see that the look is with the smile and the smirk, like you see from Pumping Iron, where you know Arnold was toying with Lou and saying, "Lou, you're 6 months out. You know, I mean, you're good, but if you only had 3 or 6 more months." You may have had a chance, and the dad corrects him. He says, "No, he needs 3 or 6 months," and he's having. You've seen that scene.
With his mom, with the whole family. The whole family. He's eating eggs.
I see you. I see you to see that. That's the part where I think there, like even right now, the psycho competitor came out for a split second. There's no way you're going to win 5 without. But there's a part about competition also is to make your opponent think you're not that competitive, right? There's different style of competition.
Mm-hmm.
There's side of competition that's just like to hide, which is how Dorian Yates did it. Everybody hated competing against Dorian because everybody would compete in 2, 3, 4 competitions throughout the year.
Yeah.
Dorian would only do 1.
Yeah.
And they would
Olympia?
be so pissed. And he would never party. He would never go out. And he would go back to London, UK, wherever he was at. And this guy hung out with gangsters. I mean, UK's got some tough guys.
Yeah, he's a thug.
Yeah, and then he would come out there like, freaking A, this guy's back. How the hell am I going to beat
Back
that?
was just stupid.
But your style comes across as, I'm just a nice guy, you know, it's who I am. And then deep down inside, you're like a assassin, but you hide it well.
Yeah.
So there's an assassin there that you do not reveal except when it comes time to win, and you give him that look to say, you excited about being second place? Because that's exactly where you're going to be. That's what you're fighting for. Do you feel that way? Do you?
For sure, yeah. You know, and it's definitely an aspect of my personality. It's just like the smile, be friendly with everyone, but like, they don't have it, you know, and they and I think they seem to all know it because they're all friendly and they all love me too, you know, and they're all great guys. Yeah. It's difficult when you have such great guys you compete against, but it's definitely fun. And I do the same aspect of Dorian. You know, I only compete once a year, and I'll talk to them. Second place, third place, I'm friends with them. Ramon and Urs, I'll go up to them. I'll be like, I know you want to do the Arnold. I know you want to win the Arnold. Don't. I'm like, if you want a chance to beat me, you need to take the next 12 months to beat me. But if you start doing the Arnold and all this shit, I'm like, I'm recovering for 3 months, and then I'm training for 9. You are getting into another prep and then recovering from that, and then doing like you're putting yourself behind when I'm already ahead of you.
And you're telling them this
I've
directly.
told them that, yeah, I have. But they're like, I want to win the Arnold. And this.
How much does the Arnold pay when you win? Is it also 50Ks or less?
I don't know. I've never done it. I think it's 50 or less, but I'm not 100%.
What's your relationship with Arnold? What kind of a relationship do you guys have?
Scarce. Yeah,
Scarce?
I've only spoken to him maybe twice, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I've never really spoken much to him.
Is that more from your end or his end?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
I've never attempted to communicate with him. He's never really attempted with me. We met once, and he gave me congratulations, shook my hand, said,
"Congrats," and he just walked away.
Yeah.
Congrats, Chris.
He's a little checked out from the industry now. You know, I don't think he's been kind of verbal. He's not a huge fan of the way the Open's gone and stuff. He's more of a fan of the
super critical. Super critical.
Yeah.
Of the Open for the whole stomach, the GH, what it's doing to it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I love that criticism that he's given. I love it that he's
earned
doing
it too. Yeah.
Who did he not give Arnold to? And then 2 years later, he said, "You got to fix the belly," and then he finally gave it to him, and he won. I don't know who it was. There was somebody.
Was it Ramy? Big Ramy?
Was it Ramy? It could have been Ramy. I don't know who it was. If it was Ramy or if it was another ponytail. He's down here in Florida. Got a great physique as well. Fantastic physique. Dancer. He was a great poser.
Oh, Kai Green?
Kai Green, yeah. So I don't know who it was, but there was somebody I remember was like, hey, you got to do something about the stomach. And then they did. And then he went and picked it up. And so Arnold and you, is there anything of competitiveness between the two or not at all? Being compared by the marketplace, hey, who's got a better physique, all that stuff?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him enough to really know. I'm not sure.
I'm not a huge fan personally because of. I mean, I was always a fan of Arnold, but the moment COVID and everything hit, and he was making those videos from home going, screw your freedom. That, dude, just that one simple thing took me from respecting him to where, especially with that accent, telling people to hell with your thing. Which, if you don't mind, Pat, because I wanted to ask Chris, we touched on Trudeau. Dude, every single Canadian I talked to, zero. I have not heard one person be like, I really, really like Trudeau. They were complaining about, the increased homelessness, the poverty, the crime, the way he's basically a dictator, especially with COVID, what he did with the truckers, with the protesting. And I know, I'm pretty sure, I want to know your thoughts on him and where the future of Canada is going. And also, the second question, and I'm pretty sure everybody's always like, Chris, and steroids and needles. Did you have to take the vaccine? Were you in Canada where they were forcing it?
You talk about political answers.
Yeah.
I don't want to dive too deep into that political side of things.
Yeah.
Obviously. And I don't think anyone in the whole country, including myself, is a fan of the guy. It's kind of hard.
What do they like? How long till? Is there a point where they're gonna be able to get rid of his ass, or it seems like he's been there forever?
I think it's similar to America, where you can only be reelected twice. So it's coming to an end soon, and I definitely have increasingly saw a shift of the whole country being like, fuck this guy, kind of, and especially after COVID. And I even saw a shift in the morale of the country. You go into stores after COVID, and it's shifting back a little bit now, but I mean, we were 3 years locked down in masks, only allowed to go to grocery stores. People came out of that different. A large scale of people were heavily depressed, even if they weren't feeling more depressing or didn't know they were definitely more antisocial. You go to a grocery store, people don't say hi to you, don't look at you anymore. In Florida, you walk around, people are just like, oh my God, look at your muscles. What's up, boy? Like, people are just like
trying to make out with you. Yeah, they don't give a damn. Dude.
No, in Canada, it's a lot more. I saw that shift of it being like, and Canadians are always known for being very politically correct and nice and shit. And I've heard more people than ever being like, fuck this guy.
Yeah,
so
dude.
I can't imagine it's not going to shift another way. And I'm hoping we can see a swing in the full realm of North America back in the direction where people feel a little bit more happy with the way the upper scale's going. But
just
hard to say.
Yeah, and you nailed it. And I get it. I get what their entire plan was from the Wuhan and the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that you're talking about, people aren't. We're not going to recover. The children aren't going to recover from that little gap in time that just ruined them. I was watching a video, Pat. I know you would have been pissed off, and I'm pretty sure we've all seen it. It's of this little kid, maybe 3 years old, 2 years old, and the teacher is forcing this mask on the kid. The kid is crying hysterically and doesn't want. They're like, no. The damage has already been done. So like that, when you talk about that, and I see that type of guy, 100% globalist, ruining the country. And again, not one person I've heard, like even if you're here, we see these polls that come out. Yeah, this is the video right here. This poor kid is crying, and the teacher is.
Is this in Canada?
I don't know where this was.
Oh, I'm thinking.
But they're like look at what we did to our children.
Yeah, it was a
Look
little
at
bit.
this poor kid.
Are you saying this because you're suggesting Mr. Olympia start forcing him to wear masks? Is that kind of where you're going?
No, but
can you stop this, Rob, please?
But yeah, it's really pissing me off. But Chris, so vaccine, everybody in Canada was basically forced to do it.
Yeah, if you wanted to work or travel or anything, you had to. Yeah. And they were checking at restaurants.
Now with all the heart diseases that are happening, myocarditis is on the rise. Cardiac arrest. There was a video I saw of a major or a captain in the United States Navy. He pulled out this sheet. 95% of his pilots are all having heart problems right now, and there's going to be zero accountability for what they force on us.
Politically, there's this new guy in Canada who is liked a lot, Pierre Marcel, I believe. I don't know if you know who he is or not, who's going around.
Pierre Olivier?
Yeah, that's who it is, Pierre Olivier, who seems very, very interesting, and Justin cannot stand this guy.
And that's a good sign, Pat.
No, this is a quality guy in Canada that a lot of people are pretty excited about to see what happens. My experience with Canadians has always been great. I love them. They drink kokanee, they're fun, and they're good to be around, they're just chill. It's just in the last few years, Justin made people look at Canadians in a different way. Some Canadians are like, dude, I'm not that guy. I'm just a Canadian is who I'm just a simple guy. And I don't know what he's done. So, because now when you look at a Canadian, you're like, man, he must probably be like that guy as well. No, a lot of them are leaving here. Florida's where it attracts a lot of Canadians anyways. But let's go back to bodybuilding. I want to wrap up with a couple other thoughts here before we finish up. Okay, so relationship. What's your relationship with steroids? Because for me, when I was first wanting to get into bodybuilding, I was talking to this guy in the gym who was taking steroids, and he says, before you do anything, read the Steroids Bible. This is 30 years ago. You know, there's edition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all this stuff. And then there's a couple other books that have been written about this. Back then, there was a video done with Mr. Olympia guys being interviewed with their faces was blurry. And they're all answering as if you can't recognize who's who. You can, one is Tom Glass, that's Ronnie Coleman. He's like,
you can recognize their body more than their face.
Recognize all of it. What are you guys doing hiding yourself? We know who you are, but it was a way of saying, well, the truth about steroids. And oh my God, yeah, we don't use them. And everybody was uncomfortable talking about it. Right now, people are more open to say, here's what I've done, here's what I've done. What does the average person not know about steroids that they need to know?
Everything. There's probably a lot to it. And I mean, it's funny. I did a Q&A in Dubai the other week, and some kid just literally, probably 17, asked me if he should get on steroids. And I'm like, no. Like, first of all, I always tell people, if you have to ask someone else, you shouldn't. And the side effects to it can vary so greatly depending on the person. You just never know what you're going into. You could do one cycle and then your natural testosterone could be dumped for the rest of your life, where you have to be on TRT forever. It can make you infertile. It can lead to more risk of heart disease, increase of cholesterol. It can affect your liver, all your organs. It can be very damaging, especially when abused, which is typically people can get addicted. Not addicted like a drug, but you get addicted to the result and how you feel, how you look, and all that stuff. So I definitely recommend anyone at a young age, don't even begin to touch it. If your physique is still progressing, don't even think about touching it. And if you're not thinking about doing this bodybuilding thing forever, then don't even think about touching it. Because some people have an idea they want to compete, and they're like, I'm going to do my first cycle and compete. And then they compete and they hate bodybuilding because it sucks. It's a lot shittier than you think it is when you get into it, especially at a high level. And then now you've done this potentially long-term damage to your body just for a 12-week prep to try and compete, and you can't go back on it. It's just not worth it. So I just always tell kids, it's sad it's even to kids, but to wait as long as possible to even think about it. Make sure that your nutrition, your recovery, your training is all perfect, and it's been perfect for years to the point where you've hit your natural plateau where you can't really make progress anymore. And then entertain, is it really worth it to you? Understand the risk. Is the risk worth it to you? Is it going to be a long-term thing? Or are you building a career, going to school, and this is just like a side hobby? And is that really worth risking your health, How
do you educate yourself? Like if I want to learn more, how do I start? Okay, because today, if you're above 40 and you go see a not a doctor, there's some of these guys that you go to and, hey, I'm a lifestyle doctor. Anytime you hear words like this, lifestyle, we can get you on TRT, peptides, all this other stuff. Let's see your blood levels. Let's do your blood test. Oh, okay, your testosterone level's only 320. That's not good for your heart. And there's a book that came out called The Ageless Man that anybody they tested with rats, and if your testosterone levels below this, it's actually got an increased chance of a heart attack and all this stuff. This book that came out, Ageless Man, a lot of people talk about this. And then they get you on TRT, right? So you need to get at this level. If somebody wants to learn more about steroids to go and educate themselves, how should they start?
It's definitely challenging. And I think the world of TRT is different than steroids the way I look at it. Steroids are a little more underground. They're higher doses, more compounds, more things going on. I think if you're over the age of 35 and you have low T, I think TRT is a great thing for you. I think being able to have that energy and be healthy and burn body fat to have this capability is healthier than taking a little bit of TRT. So learning it, it's hard. There's a bunch of people on the internet now who talk a lot of bullshit and a lot of people who are really good, so it's hard to differentiate that. But in any aspect, you can get shitty business advice, you can get good business advice. You have to do a lot of research and be smart enough to think for yourself. You have to have people you trust who are maybe in the industry, maybe some doctors who are a little less mainstream and more progressive who can actually communicate to you about it. But also, once you hear something from them, research it. Learn how to properly research, get backed articles, multiple sources, all this stuff. It's a difficult world out there with so much information. Being able to understand anything, it all has a risk of being bullshit.
Yeah, a lot of doctors you talk to, they don't even know.
No.
You go to a doctor and say, what do you know about this? No, I don't know. It's not good for you. It's not this. It's not okay. Mm. And then, the key then becomes some people you go to, they give you too much of it. They're like, no, here's what you got. It's not going to do anything. You're going to be all right. So it's important whose counsel you take, because there's the extremes on both sides. One that is zero tolerance at all. I don't want to know nothing about it. and there's another side that is extreme, the source becomes like, who do I trust to go talk to where I can get this intel from? And is there a book or a website or an article or somewhere to go to where you like start here and then go from there, or no?
No, really, no.
Really?
No, not that I would ever come across myself.
Not the fact that you would ever come across yourself. How did you learn about it? Like for even you to be at where you're at, like who did you, like maybe not even a name, but was it yourself like, hey, everybody's talking about this. What is Anadrol 50? What is Deca? What are the compounds that do well together? Is Winnie good for you? What's Winstrol? What's water-based? What's oil-based? What's oral? What's this? What's that? Like, how did you start learning about all this stuff? Or was it the fact that maybe you had somebody in your life that had already years of education where you had an edge because somebody could tell you, don't waste your time with this, do this, this is what this guy did, that's what these guys are using, let's go research that, let's start out with the blood. Is that where kind of you had a little bit of insight?
It was definitely a bit of both of that.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
sense.
And I've always been a relationship person, and I'm building relationships is like the biggest thing, progressing in anything, having people you can trust. So I had people who could trust who were helping me, and they were always like, minimum effective dose, always. Start with the least possible and then go up from there. And then at a young age, I had a run-in with my health issues, and that's when I was like, okay, well, like this didn't cause it, but it could make it worse. So you hear things like Tren and Anadrol and all these things, and these are the hardcore ones. All right, hardcore usually means harder on your body as well. If it works more, it's probably harder on your body. Stay away from those. Do the more... if you can get it prescribed from a doctor, it's probably more research and healthier. You're going to be doing higher doses than a doctor would, but minimum effective dose. Start as small as possible and slowly increase. You know, you don't need to throw the kitchen sink at it to start. You start small and slowly progress over time and change every other variable before that variable. You know, if you can change, I've still been progressing my recovery, my nutrition, my training, everything has been getting better over the years so that I can change all those variables, and I haven't had to change the amount of steroids I take for the last 5 years. It's decreased over my career.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
I mean, muscle maturity too is a
of course, yeah.
You know, I've been training for like 14 years, but that's not that long in the world of bodybuilding.
No.
I'm only 28, and I'm still, my body's just staying the same weight, but I look more mature, more dense over time. So I don't need to be just like blasting shit to get huge. I'm fine-tuning everything else, training harder, and I've been able to progress with my work ethic, you know? And there's a lot more to say about that than there is just taking more drugs.
Is there any website AI that, you know, you can look at someone's physique and you put your physique there to say, you can actually have a physique that one day you could compete for Mr. Olympia? Is there anything like that exists or no?
I don't know.
You know why I asked that question? The reason why I asked that question is because some people think they can't. And you can, do you think you can generally tell with a kid after he works out for about a year, like, you have the right physique that if we build it, like, you know, the endomorph, the mesomorph, the ectomorph, all that stuff, to say, you could actually do something with this body here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you look at a 16-year-old kid, like, this kid's got something here with the body that it puts together. Or you're like, no, I disagree. I think you got to go 5 years to see if somebody's got it.
I would say there's a scale to everything.
Of course,
There's the people with the worst genetics in the world where you could imagine if they could train for a year and they can't even lose body fat, or it's very hard to. It's probably going to be difficult for them, or if they're 110 pounds. And yeah, but in the middle realm where most people lie, I would say it takes years to really see if you can or not. Because I've seen people who have trained for a long time and look good, and I'm like, you know, they're okay. And then they start learning a little bit different. They find a new edge of how hard they can train, and all of a sudden their physique changes in a year more than it did the past 3 years. So everybody's so different.
I just say that because, you know, when you see Arnold when he was at 16, 17, the way his chest would stay up, or you would look at you younger, like look at the way.
I would say at a Mr. Olympia level.
Yeah.
Then you can probably tell when they're young. Yeah. If you don't have like that first picture of me with that headband and that green shirt.
Yeah, that's the one.
I was in high school,
17
full natural, been training for a few years. You know, I'd just been learning how to eat. I was just eating a lot. I didn't know properly how to, and obviously I had a hell of an amount of muscle on me for a high school student.
Are there any supplements for you where you like to? These are some of the go-to supplements that I would, you know, spend some time researching and looking up more, because back in the days, you know, it's very trendy, right? Oh, creatine, HMB, V2GO, you know, CLAO, all this stuff. Is there anything where it's like, these supplements, you know, whether you want to be a bodybuilder or not, your body may need some of this. This is what you want to look up. And then some of the ones, if you are a bodybuilder and you're competing, these are some of the go-to supplements. And maybe it's some of them that you sell yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at things that stand the test of time. creatine monohydrate is the most basic, cheapest thing you can buy. It's been researched the most and it's been proven to work the most. And it absolutely does work. It's not going to be like steroids where you're going to change your life, but it will help your recovery and your progress, and you will get better from taking it. And then based off that, it's just nailing nutrition in my eyes. You know, pre-workout can help you have a harder workout, get more vasodilation, get a little more blood flooding to the muscles, but it's not necessary. It just helps. Protein powder, I think, is a huge help, because if I'm having to get over 200 grams of protein in a day, it's hard to get that from food and expensive. A shake will help you get there. But other than that, everything else is just kind of bonuses that aren't really needed. And I've gone through Olympia preps where all I've taken was creatine and protein, and then everything else was taking steroids, of course, but it was focused more on diet and nutrition.
Got it. So,
and this is me owning a supplement company, being completely honest. Nutrition and how you eat is the most important thing.
And I got this article here about superfoods. You know, sometimes superfoods are like, hey, here's it's a very trendy topic. And so here we go. Superfoods you should be eating according to a dietitian, a U.S. News and World Report. Superfoods are nutrients-rich foods that can have positive effects on health due to their high level of fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. And, you know, Joe Bauer, a health and nutrition expert, defines superfoods as wholesome food that inherently has components that can improve health. And those foods are typically low in unhealthy ingredients like salt, sugar, and saturated fat. Some of the superfoods, does it have it listed here what some of the superfoods are, Rob, or no? Diet rich in fruits. Are there any superfoods like, hey, liver, you know, is there heart, or is there any superfood you say, these are some of the things that I have in my diet? Or no, it's just steak and fish and chicken?
It's pretty simple. It's all healthy stuff. I think, you know, fruits, vegetables. I think whole foods. Eating as much variety of whole foods is the best thing that you can do. Single ingredient foods. If anybody changed their entire diet to single ingredient foods, you'd be healthier. The less processed shit you eat, the better. And you talk about like low testosterone and stuff going on right now. I think a lot of that is from processed foods, you know, having shitty crops. So a lot of the natural foods are even shitty over here. Microplastics and everything, all that stuff. I think that's really leading to low testosterone in men. And they've proven some of it has happened. It's kind of like underage studies that people don't look at too much, but I think a lot of that comes from diet and lifestyle, and it's hard in America, and everybody says it, and I experienced it for the first time myself this year. You go to Italy for 10 days and you eat whatever the fuck you want, you'll lose weight, you'll feel great, you'll have great energy,
oh shit,
look amazing. I literally was like getting leaner, eating pasta and pizza all day. I was like, what the fuck? And then I came back from Italy, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get back on diet, and started eating on diet, and it felt like a little more inflamed. It didn't feel as good. I was like, and
how many fat Italians do you see? Honestly,
me
you go to Europe. When you go to Europe,
less in America.
How many fat Italians? You don't see a lot of fat.
No, they're walking everywhere. We're Ubering.
The lifestyle, the walking, the food.
Yeah,
their soil.
But a part of it is the processed food. I mean, there's this article here about 8 major factors that cause low testosterone levels.
Yeah.
1, aging. Okay, which makes sense. Testosterone naturally declines with age, starting in the 40s and significantly dropping at around 50. About 20% of men over 60 have levels that would qualify as low. Excess weight. Obesity is linked to low testosterone levels due to factors like leptin inhibiting production. Low testosterone can lead to reduced physical activity and weight gain, creating a vicious cycle. Okay. 3, testicular problems. Conditions affecting the testicles, like undescended testicles or Klinefelter syndrome. What the hell is that? Rob, can you pull that up to see what that is?
Don't Google image that one, though.
Yeah, don't do it. Is where boys and men are born with an extra X chromosomes package of genes found in every cell in the body. There are 2 types of chromosomes called the sex chromosome and determine the genetic sex of a baby. Okay. 4, pituitary disorders, issues with pituitary gland or can lower hormone levels potentially due to conditions like the Kalman syndrome, chronic health conditions, lack of sleep, diet, certain drugs and medication, chemotherapy, substance abuse, and other drugs can disrupt testosterone production. What are other things that people do that lower testosterone levels, and what can they do naturally to increase their testosterone levels?
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I hear is kind of taboo, kind of not proven yet. But I really do think that processed food in general does that. I think the pesticides we spray on our crops is kind of infecting a lot of our food. That's really impossible to avoid. I think microplastics in water and in our food and all of the way everything is just helped can affect that as well. And I think going back to the way we used to do things in the past is the best way to do it. I think obesity is led from, like you said, less walking. People are just way less active now. I think it's just depression as well can be it. I think that's a conversation that is endless, but having a community in the past, like a community that you spoke with and helped and gave back to, walked around with, saw and spoke to every day rather than driving places, being on your phone and not talking to anyone, just affects your mood overall. And, you know, my wife is huge on a lot of these natural things, so we really try and only drink water out of glass bottles. She probably wouldn't let me drink this, but like
She wouldn't let you drink that.
She would, but we try as best as we can to avoid plastic. You know, like glass Tupperware. We have a big 5-gallon Mountain Valley thing that's all glass as well, just avoiding as best as possible. And some people say this is like crazy spirit, like
No, this is great. This is what
crazy
people want to
like
hear.
stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it logically, it makes a lot of sense. And there have been a lot of studies on it that people can look into themselves that haven't maybe gotten attention they need to, but there are probably a lot of people who don't want anyone to have the attention on these things. So it's hard to say. And I think going back to the ways naturally things can be, pushing your body and training to different levels, I believe will help testosterone increase, whether it just be walking more. If you were very stagnant, having a little bit of walking, training, you know, pushing high progressive overload and training weights naturally can help bring up your testosterone a little bit. The healthier you are, the more sleep you get. Sleep is huge, especially in growing teenagers. If you're like on your phone all night, getting shitty sleep, eating processed foods, being stagnant, I believe it will result in less testosterone as you age. Whereas if you're getting 8+ hours of sleep and eating healthy and training hard, it's going to help you a lot more.
Chris, not to cut you off. Go, Pat, Khosh.
Can you put? Are you staying on the top?
Yeah, I was just gonna say about, because you know I know you've been following, like Bill Gates has been buying up all this farmland. They're anti-meat. They're trying to push for a meatless society. They're trying to tell us to eat bugs, which is another testosterone killing thing. I don't know if you've heard about it, Kristen. Do you think that's a concerted effort to make men, because we were talking about men and testosterone, to make us weaker? Have you been hearing anything about this guy and how he's going towards zero meat? Like, you have to eat protein.
I've definitely heard about it. I think all these diets that come in are kind of bullshit, and maybe that's why the whole vegan thing is pushing so hard. Some people, absolutely, maybe you feel better eating less meat. Majority of people, I don't think do. You know, I think any of these fad diets are bullshit. If you feel better eating something, you feel better eating something. It's very dependent on the individual, you know, and I think some of it goes back to our lineage, depending on where your history comes from. Maybe you're better on a Mediterranean diet, eating more fish and stuff like that. Pescatarian diets, I think, are very healthy, but it's just, at the end of the day, what they are, they're eliminating shit. All these diets are eliminating more stuff. If you're vegan, you're eating a lot less other shit. If you're pescatarian, you're eating a lot less stuff. If you're carnivore, you're eating way less stuff. So of course you're going to lose weight and feel better for a period of time. But you can also just eat less crap. You know?
Can you go to the testosterone levels of people worldwide on what countries have the lowest and the highest? Have you seen this chart before?
I haven't seen this.
It's really interesting. Rob just showed this to me yesterday. The right there. Take a look at that. Zoom in a little bit. So from 1980, this is from what? Data from 62 to 84. Can you go to the other page you had with the numbers on the same slide? If you go all the way up, I think they actually had the numbers of people. No, you showed us a number where what was actually, yeah, there you go, right there. Testosterone level in U.S. from 1960 to today, okay? Zoom out a little bit because there's some other thing that shows what those colors are. Yeah, testosterone decline. Okay, so look at 1960s. The average testosterone level for male was around 650, okay? Then we stayed at 650 till around 1980s, and then there was a sudden decline to 500 in 1995, and then we dropped to 450 in 2012, and now we're getting ready to go below 400. You know, and if you go through countries, go below to show the map that you had. Yeah, keep going. So this is in the States on who has the highest testosterone level. It's interesting. You see who has the highest, who's got the lowest. Where is the lowest? Right. So this is after 2007. West Coast testosterone level dropped. South Florida's kept it. Virginia's kept it. So ladies, Virginia testosterone level's very high. Beverly Hills was the lowest.
What?
Did you see that?
Beverly
Hills was one of the lowest. Okay, keep going, Lord. This is a very interesting data they're showing on testosterone levels. World regions, now go lower. This is the one that shows.
Is this showing America being high?
America was shown high. Then it got lower.
Oh, current.
Got lower to between 450 to 499.
That's
but we used to be 600-700 years ago. You know, how is this? You know, I don't know how much studying you've done with this testosterone level dropping. Is this also going back to what's changed, lifestyle, food, a lot of that stuff that you're kind of going back to?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't researched it. Obviously, I'm not a medical student of this aspect in this, but I think there's a lot of evidence that would say that, and I've seen firsthand a lot of people who are eating unhealthy and living stressful lives who have low testosterone, and they'll like talk to me and be like, should I hop on TRT or something? And I'm like, first of all, not going to tell you this advice. I'm not your doctor, but try this. You know, try sleeping more, remove some stress, create a proper routine, you know, like sleep better, eat better, cut this processed food out of your diet. And they have seen a natural increase coming up. Nothing like from 200 to 1,000, but it starts to raise. And if you start that at a young age, I'm sure it will develop more effectively. You know, there's stuff you can, if you're 0 to 18 living a very unhealthy lifestyle, that's kind of what sets your whole body up for the future, for your entire life. So if you're able to do it from a young age, you're going to be a lot better off.
Here's another one for you. Obesity. 42% of Americans are living with obesity, okay? Axios. More than 4 in 10 U.S. adults are obese. That's insane when you think about a number like that, by the way. With states in the South and Midwest showing some of the highest prevalence, a new analysis that came in from NORC at the University of Chicago shows obesity is associated with hypertension, cardiovascular disease, stroke, and other conditions that are among the leading causes of preventable premature death. But strategies of treating obesity are changing, with doctors prescribing a new case of drugs in record numbers despite questions about their long-term effects and hefty price tag. West Virginia and Mississippi have highest obesity rates at 51%.
Damn.
The District of Columbia had the lowest obesity rate, D.C., 33%, followed by Colorado at 34%. Obesity disproportionately impacts Black and Hispanic Americans, analysis shows. And then obesity rates amongst children is also higher. More than 17% of children, 0 to 17, are considered obese. And if you go even deeper in that, Medicaid-covered children have a considerably higher obesity rate at 26% Medicaid-covered children compared to 11.4% among children with private insurance alone. And it's even at a point right now where Oprah Winfrey, what was the story that came out about Oprah Winfrey with this new drug called the Ozempic?
Well, they didn't say the actual name, but she
says, stop fat shaming me.
No, she's like, well, stop shaming her that she's taking it. Like now, because she's 69 years old. She went from Oprah.
Can you show the picture of what Oprah looks like?
She looked like, let me explain something to you guys. If I was drunk and it was like and I saw Oprah out, I would go for it.
You would consider it?
100%.
Because it's Oprah, or
because it's Oprah.
Actually, very good question.
Just because it's Oprah.
Technical.
Yeah,
it's technical.
But like, look at, dude, are you kidding me?
And she's 70 how old is she right now, by the way?
69 years old.
So she dropped 40 pounds apparently using this drug called Ozempic, and to the point where Chelsea Handler said that she took it as well, saying her anti-aging doctor prescribed it to her unknowingly. However, she stopped using it, stating, I'm an irresponsible drug user, but I'm not going to take diabetic drug. Tracy Morgan said that he's been taking it as well. He says, I went and got a prescription, and I got Ozempic, and I ain't letting it go. Meghan McCain is refusing to take it. She says it's horrifying, unfair, and disturbing. Don't rush me.
But, Rob, you have a stat. You had a stat, 1,500%. What, Rob? Didn't you have what was it? A poison center see nearly 1,500%, not 150, 1,500% increase in calls related to injected weight loss drugs as people accidentally overdose. So that's not good.
Maybe here's a question for you. What's more dangerous for your body? Taking steroids to develop more muscles and increasing your testosterone, or taking drugs like this Ozempic that all of a sudden you're going to drop 40 pounds in a month? What's more dangerous for your body, you think?
I mean, there's no black or white answer to that. You know, if you're abusing steroids, it could be worse. If you're abusing Ozempic, you abuse anything, it could be worse. I don't like the idea of taking drugs like for weight loss, obviously, especially when it's something you can achieve without it. And I have seen plenty of people who have used this, and they've used it, they've lost a lot of weight, and then they try and come off, and their appetite goes through the roof. They put all their weight back on because it suppresses your appetite. It makes it hard for you to eat. It makes you almost a little nauseous, so it's hard to eat. And then it regulates your blood sugar, so your body thinks it's getting enough nutrients in, but it often isn't. So people can be malnourished, under eating, having no appetite, taking this, lose weight, feel great, and then when they stop, that appetite comes back with a vengeance, and then they eat again and lose the it, and they're like, fuck, I need to get back on that drug.
Oh God.
If that's not an addiction, I don't know what is, you know? And then now they're addicted to this drug that was just discovered 1 year ago. Yeah. Of course, testosterone has risk and it's dangerous.
This is 1 year.
How long has it been around? Probably a little over 1 year, but it's new.
Yeah.
It's very new.
Oh, yeah.
There definitely aren't 15 plus years of clinical trials on this on humans.
Yeah, and it's a diabetic drug.
So everybody out there, all these people right now taking it are the clinical trials.
Yeah,
what the
you're
side
right.
effects are going to be in the next 10 to 15 years.
Yep. It's just like the vaccine. We don't know. Hasn't had the science hasn't hit yet.
And like steroids, a lot of people take it without knowing the risk, and I think that is dangerous. And I don't want to compare them, say one's better than the other, because I don't think you should take any drug without understanding the risk. But I don't think these people understand the risk. I bet you they go in and they say, you know, hey, take this. There's no side effects that we've found yet. And people are like, okay,
They don't
great.
care, bro. If you're gonna fix one thing, they don't give a shit about the aftermath, as long as they lose the weight. And it's crazy. Yeah, I have a cousin. My cousin is on this, and dude drastically lost weight.
And how many of these people do you think are getting paid? How many celebrities are getting paid to talk about taking this?
Oh, of course. That's a plug. An Oprah plug I don't think she mentioned it, Chris, but I'm pretty sure, bro, that like everybody knows what there's no secret like new drug out. It's Ozempic. Everybody's taking it.
But Ozempic and Wegovy brought in $4.8 billion of sales. You ready? In the third quarter.
In the third quarter.
What?
Can you pull this up, Rob?
In the third
Check
quarter?
this out. I just saw this on Forbes.
What?
I'm going to send it to you. Click on this link, the article. That's the one right there.
It.
Stay under. So Ozempic and Wegovy brought in $4.8 billion of sales during the third quarter. And the drugs account for 52% of Novo Nordisk's $23.6 billion of total revenue through 2023's first 9 months, up from a 36% share during the same period.
Whoa.
Wow. Click on that article. Click on the article to see if there's any other data behind this. 4.8 billion in a quarter. Zoom in. So if this is 4.8 billion, it's more than just Oprah Winfrey taking it. Just so you know that there's a lot of 75% of the last 12 months. Ozempic craze caused the capitalization to balloon from $230 billion last October to $430 billion today. Remarkably, the firm's market value is now larger than its home country of Denmark. Entire annual economic output. The company is now worth $430 billion. Wegovy is approved in the United States for weight management, while Ozempic is formally approved for the type 2 diabetes, but it is often prescribed off-label for weight loss. Go a little lower.
Didn't it get banned in the UK or something too?
You know what, Nick? Can you?
I think so.
Zoom in a little bit more to see what it says on that 100 GPA stocks. Bank of America analysis projects American calorie consumption to dwindle as much as 3% by 2030 due to the rise of weight loss drugs. And packaged food and meat stocks are amid their worst loss streak since the turn of millennium. So that's what you were saying. It's making you not want to eat because it's making you think you're full. Search what countries Ozempic is banned in. What countries Ozempic is banned in?
That's crazy that one product is worth more than the country's economic input.
That's insane.
Oh, my God.
Countries that have imposed such bans.
Austria,
France, Greece, and Czech Republic, Portugal, Romania, Belgium, Slovakia, and Spain. In turn,
to export, though?
The drug.
Saying to export because of shortages.
Place that likely make it impossible to export the drug. So it's not necessarily...
No, it's not banned.
Export.
But the first ones are bans. The second ones... make it impossible to export. So Austria, France, Greece, and Czech is a ban. Very interesting. Very interesting on how it's going to affect 3% of the intake in food by 2030.
Oh, my God.
And they're seeing a streak in the amount of food we're taking months in a row. Again, I mean, this is... A person like Oprah, celebrities are taking like, dude, look how great this person looks. And you get on and all of a sudden you're hitting all these effects to it. Interesting. Yeah, Ozempic is a topic, something you're hearing a lot about in the last 12 months, I would say. Not something you've heard about before. It's more recent.
Blew up, yeah.
Yeah. Remember that one drink you would drink and within 24 hours you could lose 15 pounds? This is like 20 years ago. Did you know about this?
No.
You'd lose 10 to 15 pounds within 24 hours.
Because you'd go to the bathroom a lot?
No, so you would, but you would go to a party. Hollywood was using this, and it was super popular. So let's just say you just have 12 hours. Boom. You drink it, 10, 15 pounds. You would
Look
be
ripped.
but ripped. And
I
it was
feel
like
shit the next
you-
day.
Yeah, oh yeah, for
Makes
sure.
you,
With
like,
the
all
party,
tired.
you look great.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Aside from you feeling like shit, but let me see what else I got here. Boom. Okay, final thoughts here, Christopher, before we wrap up. What final thoughts do you have to the audience, people who are in your world, who follow you, and those maybe that haven't followed you, and other, because on PBD podcast, we've not had, bodybuilding. We've had it on Valuetainment, but not on PBD podcast. On Valuetainment, the audience would recognize it more. What final thoughts do you have for somebody that is in the health business, is in a bodybuilding, they want to get into, possibly bodybuilding? What message do you have to those who are specifically in the health industry with aspirations of wanting to get to the next level?
In the next level of fitness?
Well, I mean, I wanted to see if I can really compete and maybe do more with bodybuilding. What would you say to those guys?
I mean, as is being successful in anything, it's about mitigating where you put your attention and time and effort. If you're wanting to take something to the next level, you have to start pulling away from where you're putting energy anywhere else and putting it into where you want to be successful. And every time you do a little bit more in there, you'll become a little bit more successful. So you start to do that over time. And if you don't want to fully commit, just do a little bit. If you wanted to get into bodybuilding and pull away from your social life, pull away from it and go into that. But also ask yourself, where do you want to be in 10 years? Is what you're putting your energy into getting you to where you want to be in 10 years? Or is it just resulting you to be happy right now in this moment, and in 10 years you're going to be like, am I grateful and better at partying? Or would I have rather pulled away from that and put a little bit more discipline into bodybuilding and see where I could have taken that? And the beautiful thing about fitness now is you don't even need to compete really to build something from it. With social media and the amount of people with obesity problems right now, all you have to do is learn how the body works, improve your own self, and then start helping others, and you can build a business or help others off that. So there's a lot of avenues that can take it, but I think, something I take away from seeing this is people are looking for the easy way out. Do I think that's going to last long term in life? No. So what can you do to get ahead of those people? Take the hard way. Start working on yourself. Put energy into the hard stuff. Be consistent. Be disciplined. And you're going to be ahead of most of the population right now. If people are looking for an easy way out, all you got to do is take the hard way and be resilient, and you're ahead of most of the population.
Or if you're a really lazy guy, and you don't want to work out and stuff, and you're lazy as shit, just identify as trans, compete against women, and beat the shit out of them. That's what else. That's what they're doing. They're just lazy as hell.
You are so fun.
That's what I'm saying, Chris.
But there's
No
not
comment.
been yet a male bodybuilder competing in female. Oh, there was actually somebody that did it. But not at the Mr. Olympia level. And none of that has happened yet. I hope they don't.
Would they turn him away if he?
I don't think Jake would
They got to
do that.
qualify.
Yeah.
I guess you're saying that.
Well, what I'm saying is, what if a guy slaps on some boobs and goes and competes with the women? They're not going to say no.
I actually don't think Mr. Olympia brand would do that today. I don't think if they did, I don't think they know who their audience is. And I think they know who their audience is, and that's not their audience. By the way, final thoughts. This drink. This is your Bum Energy.
Can I have one?
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to crack it
Tell
open.
us about this.
Yeah, I mean, everyone at my office was drinking like 3 energy drinks a day. And now they were all like 200, 300 milligrams of caffeine.
Oh, wow.
And they were all stimmed out and feeling sick after it. And I was like, let me make something a little bit lighter, And being healthy, I tried to be less caffeine, no food dyes, nothing like that. So it's got 112 milligrams of caffeine, some cognizant in it for a nootropic, help you kind of focus without being too jittery. Simple little can. You can drink a few of them a day and still feel good. And
What's your favorite flavor? What's your favorite flavor?
Cherry frost or peach mango. The peach mango is not fully out yet, but this one is.
Cherry frost is out, so they can order the
That cherry frost is out.
You're seeing it on the screen. Put the link, Rob, in the chat and the description. If you're a fan,
I like it.
You follow him, support the man. Go place an order with Bum sugar-free energy drink cherry frost. Christopher, it's been a blast having you on.
sir.
You're the man.
It's been an honor.
Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to doing it again in the future. If you decide to go for your 6, maybe we'll do one right afterwards as well. And looking forward to seeing next year when you finally reveal, when your wife says, now we can tell the world. I'm excited about that moment to see what your reaction is going to be.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye, bye-bye.